says, no, he said that shouldn't be. And I said,
And until my neighbor came across the street when Ben got elected, and his buddy Nate Dorlag is our neighbor right across the street. And he came over, he was furious, and I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, you need to come to meetings, you need to be there, and I'm like, yeah, I would, and I was. So, but I watch. And I told him,
Welcome to the Monday, November 17th, 2025 Charter Township of Comstock Board Meeting. This meeting is now called to order. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion to appoint a temporary clerk for this meeting.
Second.
For Trustee Cherry.
Second.
I would need a motion.
Oh, I thought you were. I make a motion that we appoint Trustee Sherry to be temporary clerk for this meeting.
Support. Motion made by Trustee Pratt, supported by Trustee Amos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And then as well as some additions to the agenda or any changes, we would like to, under clerk, we would like to strike the November 4th, 2025 election report. We are going to keep the farmland development rights, and Superintendent Hess is going to discuss that. Addressing complaints and waiving attorney-client privilege, I would like to move under supervisor. Be looking for the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as it was presented.
Motion made by Trustee Amos.
support.
Supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
opposed.
Agenda is amended. Moving along to public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor, and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you're welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. The contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful. And 1 second, on the approval for the agenda, I was busy talking, and so I don't know if I said aye, so I said aye. Treasurer Bloomfield, Trustee McIver, Trustee Pratt, Trustee Amos, and then we had Trustee Cherry, so the motion passes. Moving along to public comment. Thank you, sir.
All right, I want to start off, I'm speaking as a resident, nothing further. I want to address 2 serious concerns tonight. The conduct of an elected official and the selective use of transparency in this township. First, Trustee Robert Pratt's conduct. A recently released FOIA response containing Trustee Pratt's private emails to our former attorney, Catherine Kaufman, reveals a disturbing pattern behind the scenes pressure. In those emails, Trustee Pratt demanded that the attorney and the BESS moratorium, writing, "Get the entire moratorium ended." When she did not present the option he wanted in an open session, he accused her of deceiving the community, writing, "For me, it's a disservice to our board, the Comstock community. At worst, it represents deception. I see no other word for this. This event has led to an erosion of trust." And when she still refused to follow his preferred course, he wrote, "Perhaps it's time we reassess our working relationship." That's not oversight. That's an elected official privately threatening the township's long-serving attorney because she would not bend to his personal demands. To this day, this board has never publicly explained why Catherine Kaufman, who served this township for over a decade, is no longer our attorney and has been replaced with another attorney from the same firm. Secondly, tonight this board has on the agenda a motion to finally release the full Clark Hill harassment report. On April 21st, 2025, the same majority that is now likely wanting to release this voted twice, both times 4-2, to keep the full report secret and deny Treasurer Bloomfield's request to waive privilege. The only thing they allowed that night was a limited summary, which they then used to censure Sandy Bloomfield. For 7 months, residents were told the full report could not be legally released. Now, literally days before a recall petition can start circulating, that same majority suddenly discovers it can be released after all. That's not transparency. That is politically motivated. It proves that this majority deliberately kept a taxpayer-funded report hidden for 7 months until it became politically convenient to let it out. This community deserves far better than private intimidation of legal counsel, unexplained departures of longtime professionals, and selective last-minute release of reports taxpayers already paid for. As a resident, I expect consistency, honesty, and respect for both the law and the people who pay the bills. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Tammy Keeler, Salary Street. I'm gonna ask a request right now. Seeing that Sherry has taken Miss Beauchamp's place, that she has no vote within the fire department. I was gonna ask her to recuse herself because of conflict of interest, but Sherry's taken her place, so that would be conflict of interest also. Also, it'd be conflict of interest if Miss Sherry voted anything on the BESS. She has had contact with them, just like Mr. Sherwood, and I ask her to recuse herself from any votes from this BESS. And we'd like to know what happened to the other attorney. We do have the right. Seems that the taxpayers were paying her salaries. We should get an explanation why she's gone. We know half of why she's gone. Because she was harassed by Trustee Pratt. Which, that should not be up to Trustee Pratt to say anything to an attorney that serves this board. He is only a trustee. He is not the supervisor, superintendent, anybody else. The supervisor should have wrote them letters himself if he wanted her reaccused. And the only ones that are honest on this board, I would tell you right now, Sandy Bloomfield, Ben Martin, and Jerry Amos. We do not trust any of you others that are up there on this board. I say you all gotta go. We voted these officials in. We did not vote in the superintendent. Taxpayers are paying your salary. This is why we voted you in. We wanted honesty and trustworthiness. And there's no trust on anybody else on this board except for them three. They are bringing transparency to the public. You guys just want to hide it, the rest of you. The rest of you, we have not seen any transparency out of you at all. None. But like I said, she should be recused for not voting on the fire department, conflict of interest, or the battery plant. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further citizen comment this evening?
Karen Height. I filed a formal complaint against Clerk Beauchamp and against our superintendent. I have heard nothing from them. So I'd like to read it. I won't be able to read the whole thing in 3 minutes, but the relationship between both of them an appearance of potential reality of conflict in several ways. The clerk is a statutory officer responsible for certifying payroll, disbursements, financial authorizations, is positioned to act upon matters directly affecting her brother's department. The fire chief exercises supervisory authority over his spouse in direct conflict with accepted administrative and personnel standards. These overlapping family roles compromise internal checks and balances and invite favoritism and undermine public confidence and fiscal accountability. Under Public Act 196 of 1973, Standards of Conduct for Public Officials and Employees, MCL 15.342, public officers and employees are required to use public resources solely in accordance with statutory procedures and not for personal gain or private benefit. Subsection 6 expressly prohibits an employment or service incompatible or in conflict with the discharge of official duties or tending to impair independence of judgment. Likewise, Public Act 317 of 1968, Contract of Public Servants with Public Entities, prohibits public servants from engaging in or approving financial matters in which they or their relatives hold an interest. Although primarily directed at contracts, the principle is equally applicable and to situations where financial or supervisory decisions directly affect family members. Furthermore, the Michigan Court of Appeals decision in Winrick versus City of Warren in 1980 upheld the validity of local anti-nepotism policies, recognizing the government's compelling interest in avoiding conflicts and maintaining public trust. The same standards should guide this township's operations, even in the absence of the codified policy. As a township supervisor, also serves as a public personnel director, the absence of corrective action or even review in this matter raises an additional concern of administrative neglect. The superintendent's duties include ensuring the employment practices comply with the law and policy. Failure to address a supervisory relationship between spouses coupled with financial oversight by a sibling of a department head suggests selective enforcement or disregard for ethical standards. Given these facts, I am formally requesting the following actions. A comprehensive and independent review of the Township Board and Attorney of all personnel and financial relations with the Fire Department involving related individuals. The written legal opinion from the Township Council addressing the compliance with MCL 15.342, PA 317 of 1968.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Tollerson. I'm a resident of Comstock. In the executive summary of the 2030 master plan this board adopted, it calls for a, quote, more sustainable and equitable future for Comstock. It goes on in the vision statement, quote, as you arrive, whether by foot, bus, bicycle, or car, Comstock welcomes you with colorful gateways, an indication of the abundance of green spaces and recreation amenities within the community. Throughout the township, multi-generational neighborhoods are safe, attractive, and connected to community assets via non-motorized pathways. A strong business climate supported by excellent access to rail, roads, and an educated and skilled workforce thrives. A privately owned and operated, for-profit, 400 megawatt battery energy storage system has no interest in providing power to the handful of Comstock residents that would be connected to the same circuit as the BESS. When 400 megawatts could easily power 5 times as many homes as there are in Comstock. Any project wishing to benefit from the BESS 400 megawatts would either seek to build as close in proximity to it or build long stretches of mainline cable throughout our community. I will not imagine a Comstock in which our colorful gateways are strung with high voltage wires and backed by the soundtrack of data center cooling fans. While a half-mile away, our students gather, and instead of gazing out across our green spaces, the horizon is blocked by steel structures of tech billionaires profiting off our land and risking our water. This board must adopt strong policies to ensure the safe, attractive, and connected community that we all envision in our master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name name is Katie Schneider, and I'm an Ashtimo Township resident, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight as your neighbor. What happens in Comstock reaches Ashtimo, and what happens in Ashtimo reaches you. My involvement with battery energy storage systems began in August, and I truly believe God's providence placed me exactly where I needed to be that night. That night, our planning director, Jody Staforia, invited New Edge Power to present to the Ashtimo Planning Commission in an informational meeting. I was the only resident in the room, and because of that, I heard something not meant for me to hear, Ashtimo Substation, which sits directly across from my home. From that moment on, anytime I asked questions of our township, I was told no application, no information. But FOIA records in a 2023 land lease showed otherwise. We learned staff had met with the developer months before residents knew anything, and the ordinance was shared with the developer long before it was shared with our planning commission. In 1 month, we now have nearly 1,000 residents and growing, organizing against our BESS because we understand the truth. Toxic gas, evacuation zones, contaminated soil. BESS impacts don't stop at township borders, though. Your proposed BESS sits next to a school. Ours sits in the center of 7 neighborhoods and multiple townships. Different configuration, same dangers. And just like you, we have some staff and board members who appear ready to welcome this project. The money is tempting, the pressure is real, and the desire to move quickly is understandable. But at what cost? And what debt will our children and grandchildren pay for decisions made without full understanding? Comstock, you were fortunate to have a board election before this moved too far. You now have leadership willing to slow down and fight for resident safety, something Ashtimo will not have the chance to vote on until board elections in 2028, long after a project will be finalized beside our homes. BESS is not a partisan issue. It affects every family the same way. In 2026, I encourage every voter to research candidates carefully and understand their positions on large-scale energy projects, local control, and safety standards. Straight ticket voting can overlook key differences that matter deeply to communities like ours. Please pray for your leadership and ours. Support them. Stand with those watching out for your families. And to the residents here who have fought this for years, thank you. From Ashtimo. You have inspired us, taught us, and given our community the courage to stand up too. But tonight your call to action is clear. Do not rush. Do not fear the MPSC. They have rejected unsafe projects before. Research and require the full, rigorous, transparent MPSC process. Back your leadership who are protecting you. Speak boldly and do not remain silent. What you decide here will protect not only your children, but thousands of families across neighboring townships. In Scripture, Mordecai tells Esther, "For if you remain silent at a time like this, relief and deliverance will arise from another place. And who knows, but that you have come to this position for such a time as this."
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome to her for coming here and saying what she had to say. I'm just going to reiterate something that I found out on Thursday night that most of you didn't hear. I contacted different senators from Michigan, also had talked to different attorneys, and the BESS cannot go in legally unless we have a full booklet handed out to every single citizen in Comstock Township that has evacuation procedures. Without that, it is illegal. You are putting yourself up for a lawsuit because we don't have one in place. I haven't seen a book. Nobody else has seen a book. And it's supposed to be available to everyone. It's supposed to go to every single household. So just think about that on what she just said.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Pam Yerk, 8797 East Main Street. I also was at the planning meeting, which was super interesting because lots of cool things were happening. We had Emily Petz from the Upjohn Foundation talk about what the planning board was talking about, trying to grow the community, and the all the billboards are right there to show you what the thoughts are. I just, some of those things made me really excited about the community, and also all of our neighbors on H Avenue and 28th Street coming out to express how they felt about the redevelopment of the changing the zoning to redevelop their communities, and how emotional they were and how they wanted to protect their neighborhoods. This is where we stand with the BESS system. It's the same thing. How do we redevelop Or how do we put something into this community that we're trying to improve? How do we make it a place where families want to come? How do you add housing for kids and schools if you're going to put a possibly toxic thing right in the middle of the community? It doesn't jive with what we're trying to do in Comstock and what everyone here was elected for. And I do understand that the people that are in front of me now are not necessarily the people that were the ones that started with the BESS system and putting all the information together on rules, but and I understand that some feel that the state forced the decision to put the ordinance in place because they had made their own rules. I agree that we needed to do something about it, but I don't believe that this is a done deal. And I don't believe that we should cave to the state. I think your suggestion of letting it ride and making them do the work is important. At the planning committee, one of the planning members said, we have to make lemonade out of the lemons we've been given. And I think that is too bitter of a drink. We are not the people that we say that we are. If it's an environmental community, if we're trying to do the right things for our kids and our families, I can't sell my house now in good faith to say, because I want out, who's going to buy a house? I told my daughter not to come to Comstock because I don't want her to be stuck with something she can't get rid of in 5 years when this thing explodes and there's toxic water and toxic air. It's ridiculous. It's not the thing to do for our community. So I will tell you that the only place I feel safe these days in the world is my house and my backyard. And I am just down the road from the previously proposed location of the BESS. People here are going to be affected no matter where it goes. Our community isn't 200 acres of pasture land. And Ms. Bloomfield suggested that we all go out to...
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, sorry.
So much to say in so little time. At this point, in honor of our Oshkomo guest, I'd like to tell you that I watched the Oshkomo meeting the other night on Public Media Network. And something that they do that I think we should consider is they don't just restrict public input to before and after the meeting. On each agenda item, after they've discussed it and looked at it, they ask, does anybody else have anything they would like to say? And people from the audience are allowed to come up and give some input. If you really want to know what your citizens think, that would be a good time to do it. As it stands now, with our public comments, just prior to and after the meeting, we don't really get to give input on the things that were being discussed by you guys. But all we hear is same drivel over and over again about how somebody isn't liked or how they shouldn't be voting or on and on and on. This disinformation, the insults, it is this bunch of, I'm not sure where to go with that. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of hearing people whine all the time. I'm up here a lot myself. Probably people are tired of hearing me whine. But I really think the Oshkomo Township Board has a good idea to get public input on the items on the agenda, not just complaints about board members or other township employees. That's all I have to say at this time. I have to thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Caitlin Clary. I'm here tonight because I have a friend who lives in the community and I'm concerned about the BESS Center. In January, in Moss Landing, California, at the Vista Battery Storage Facility, a fire broke out there. The building's fire suppression system failed to quench the fire. As per lithium battery fire protocols, the firefighters did not try to extinguish the blaze, but let it burn. These fires usually release toxic gases and burn very hot. Field surveys conducted within a 2-mile radius received a significant rise in marsh soil contaminations of 3 heavy metals, nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Farmers in the area expressed concern about the safety of their crops after the fire. They said that they have dealt with headaches, burning throats, and itchy eyes. Farmers who raised meat, rabbits, and chickens no longer felt comfortable eating their meat or even the eggs. Knowing how bad these fires can be, and especially with its proximity to a school, I wonder what precautions you have in place to prevent a disaster like this. Do you have a system for independent inspection? Are there individuals trained specifically in safety of these facilities to do random surprise inspections? If they are found out of compliance, what, if any, penalties do they face? All too often nowadays, large companies are okay with breaking the rules and paying fines because it is more profitable that way. God forbid an accident did occur at the facility. What assurance do community members have that they will be taken care of and any loss in property value will be compensated? When you go to make your decision, do a cost-benefit analysis. Do the benefits to your community outweigh the potential costs? If you think it does, what safety precautions are you putting in place to protect the community? To me, this is not worth the risk, especially when you consider how close it will be to a school. I appreciate your time to listen to me tonight, and I hope you keep these things in mind as you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
John Dickman, Township President. And it looks like I'm going to wrap it up. My personal opinion about battery energy storage systems really doesn't matter anymore. I've worked a long time with lithium-ion batteries and automotive applications. I'm not scared of them. And one of the things that was brought up, it was actually by the resident that lives directly adjacent to the proposed site. Lithium battery technology is advancing in leaps and bounds. And when I read the letter that CIP sent the township, that I guess we'll be discussing later, I noticed that they're using lithium iron phosphate batteries. They even told us the manufacturer and the model number of the battery they wanted to use. Lithium iron phosphate batteries are the newest and safest technology in this type of battery system. Now, whether I can't, let me start that over. I can't stand here and demand that the township not allow a BESS, because I know darn well that there's 3 BESS systems in front of the MPSC right now. And CIP has said, hey, if we don't get any headroad from the township, that's the way we're going to go. So I am going to trust this board, I am going to trust the Planning Commission, and I am going to trust the process. Our ordinance allowing BESS systems has been on the books for a year now. It was a moratorium for 6 months. It's not in a moratorium any longer. What the Planning Commission is deciding is further restrictions to that ordinance. And further restrictions to the ordinance for greater safety is for the greater good. But I don't think it's wise that we just wash our hands of it and let the state decide it, because if the state decide it, that's going to be right in the back pocket of that school. And I trust you guys to do your due, man. Do your jobs, and you know I know lots of you on a personal level, and I've trusted you for a long time, and I'm going to trust the process. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Hi. I went back and forth a lot this week on what I was going to say. I had a lot of things typed up. And then I thought, just like as the previous young man said, this gets to be very draining. It gets to be very tiresome that we have to act like this, because to me, We shouldn't be doing this. I mentioned somebody today, you know, this type of behavior towards the attorney, the previous attorney Kaufman, it's uncouth. It's not very civilized for people in professional positions to be treating other professionals in that manner. And I think that us as people and citizens and residents can do a lot better, not only just to other professionals, but to each other, speaking more calmly, politely, more civilly. I sent letters previously on November 3rd for letters of recusal. I still stand by those. I'm not going to go into them because, again, these are the same things that I said when Kaufman was here, that I still voted for all of you guys up here. I believed in you, and I believed in you then, and I believe in you now. But we just have to fix the way it is that we're going about these things, and I don't think that's a stretch. In relation to the clerk, if we are to maintain the same standards that we applied to Sherwood, which is the perception of impropriety, then we must apply those same standards consistently across with the clerk as well. In relation to the Clark Hill report discussion, I would strongly ask the board to reconsider that position, make sure that they are comfortable with the exposure that will generate, that not only will open up every single thing to FOIA, but that includes communications with anything that was in there and on devices that were used at any time for public office. So I would be I would urge them, the township, to be very careful in doing that. I will say too, again, the communications in general to Kaufman, I was very disappointed in the way that was handled. If somebody of that tenure, typically when you have somebody of that tenure leave a position, they have a chance to speak at the last meeting that they attend, and you congratulate them and thank them for their service, and that was not done. And Catherine is a very well-respected attorney, not only just here in the townships that she serves, but all across the state. And so I find that behavior towards her to be very shameful. And that today I also filed, in relation to the FOIAs, an emergency TRO. I can get that information to you, Robert, and you know, I'm going to keep pushing ahead with this stuff until we can get the township back into the state in which everybody believes that it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm trying not to.
You can take the podium.
Jonica Camburn, 1078 Verleen. I am going to refer to something that happened in the past when Mr. Thompson was supervisor. He tried to recuse himself from a vote that his son was involved in, and he was told by our attorney that he had to vote on every issue. And whether Nicole should be recused from voting for fire department and things, I don't know. But I'm thinking maybe that is something we should talk to our attorney about and see if indeed she should be recused from that, or if it's okay for her to do that. I really don't know the answer. I just know when it came up before, Supervisor Thompson was told he needed to vote.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Emily Murphy, Comstock resident. Tonight there is a plan to appoint members to the newly created Homeless Committee for Comstock Township. I would like to put forward some concerns and thoughts. Our township narrowly kept our ability to continue to secure law enforcement for our community. If we are planning on addressing this issue head-on, we will need the support of more law enforcement. I'm especially concerned because as outreach happens, there will be those who do not want to be reached out to. Pending any kind of untreated mental illness, substance abuse, or any other reasons, there may be possible reprisal from these individuals being reached out to. We need to consider how we will support the officer that supports our community. As of 10/6/25, the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission decreased the number of beds in their facility by over 50% from previous capacity. That is a loss of 160 beds for those out on the streets. This has resulted in putting many, many more out on the streets, forced to find and or make their own shelters wherever they can find a spot. There are encampments already established in our township. Some of these encampments are in the woods behind schools and businesses on Gull Road, in the woods between neighborhoods and Meyer or Aldi's, in the woods that surround cornfields on G Avenue, in the woods at Fred McLinden Nature Trails, in the cornfields behind or next to Walmart, and spread throughout neighboring communities like Parchment and Kalamazoo Township. There are a lot of encampments all along the river down Kings Highway headed towards downtown Kalamazoo. There is a population of homeless folks in the woods surrounding the Kalamazoo River Trail, aka River Villa Via, and Wildflower Walk between the Comstock Community Center, the neighborhood behind the library, all the way to Consumers Power Drive. The summer of 2024, I watched a concerted effort by the Kalamazoo City Police and Kalamazoo County Police to push those in some of the homeless encampments in the city and near the river out of the city. That effort sent at least 50-plus individuals down East Michigan, a direct road to Comstock. I know this because I saw it and I have photos of the exodus. Since then, I have asked Comstock Township to coordinate with the Kalamazoo City and Township, as this should not be something that we should be left to handle on our own, because we obviously cannot handle it on our own. I would be interested in an ordinance report from Comstock Township to see how many of the concerns our ordinance officer attends to are connected with the homeless population that has grown and continues to grow out of our control. These settled areas only invite more individuals to come in hopes of finding somewhere to exist. No one can blame them. We need to make sure that our residents feel safe in our community. Please coordinate with Kalamazoo and hold them accountable for dismissing these folks, sending them down the road and into the next community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further citizen comment this evening? We'll be moving along to announcements for departments, boards, and commissions. Commissioner Gisler, have anything for us this evening?
I do.
Okay.
I have three things, Supervisor. The first is an update for everybody that's got a stake in any of the HCS, Health and Community Services operations, which are substantial. We are interviewing, the county board will be coming up with, we'll find out who the 3 or 4 candidates are that have been reviewed by a committee of 20 or so internal department heads and the administrator and the co-administrators and deputy administrators. I think we'll get the first look at these candidates coming up next week. No, take it back, maybe tomorrow when we meet. If we don't, it'll be the following meeting, which will be in 2 weeks. The other things that I wanted to mention are, I had a meeting that was hosted, I hosted it actually it was yesterday. No, it wasn't, a week ago. Yeah, I'm getting confused. I should take better notes. It was our county's equalization director, Matt Hansen, and he presented to my group, Kalamazoo Citizens for Responsible Government, and did a magnificent job of presenting what I consider a very complex and somewhat confusing situation. He's been our equalization director for 13 years. He's spent 20 years in the equalization fields before that, so he really knows his stuff. And he brought the handouts. He didn't bring a PowerPoint or anything. He brought handouts, and I have some of those, and I can get more of them if anybody would like to. I see Jerry smiling. He understands equalization, don't you, Jerry? If you do, please explain it to me. Anyway, I have access to some good, I think it's 5 or 6 pages worth of equalization information that anyone who's interested, just, drop me a note at my personal email, and I'll be happy to return the package to you. And I also want to plug the Kalamazoo Citizens for Responsible Government next meeting, which will be Monday, December 8th at Mark's Diner on Romance in Portage, and we're going to have the public affairs representative from Enbridge talk to us. We haven't had an Enbridge rep talk to us for the last 3 or 4 years, so it's going to be an important chance to update on what Enbridge has been up to, what they plan in the future. And I'm sure if, you want to know more about Line 5, that'll be a good time to do it. And also about what the Kalamazoo River spill, now that it's history, how that has changed things as far as Enbridge is concerned. And if you have any questions about any of that, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving along to the consent agenda. Looking for approval of the consent agenda of the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Program contract, the approval of the minutes from October 20th, 2025 board meeting, and bills payable November 18th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, there is one error in the last meeting minutes of October 20th, 25 on page 15 of the agenda. And I'd like to have that corrected.
Okay.
I didn't find it here. Yes, at the bottom of the page, on page 15, indicates after we came out of closed session, and on the vote, there specifically is where it needs to be corrected. On the A's, the current minutes have me, Trustee Pratt, down as an A, and it should be in the latter category. I don't see your name here, Mr. Chair, so I'm not sure if that's also, I don't recall that being that way. So anyway, for me, it should record be nay for Bob Pratt. And I've reviewed the film for that meeting, so just to ensure that this is corrected properly.
That appears to be correct, that I would be a yes, so there needs to be a correction for Supervisor Martin for yes, replaced and strike out Trustee Bob Pratt for, and include him on a no. And that was Supervisor Martin made a motion to approve the recommendation from the Township Attorney. Treasurer Bloomfield seconded the motion. A roll call vote was held. Then it would be the mover was Supervisor Martin. Seconder was Treasurer Bloomfield. Yeses were Sandy Bloomfield, Trustee Amos, Supervisor Martin. Noes were Nicole Beauchamp, Trustee Christy Cherry, Trustee MacGyver, and then Trustee Pratt. I'd be looking for a motion of approval with the corrections as amended.
I make a motion for the approval of the consent agenda with the corrections.
Support.
As amended.
Motion made by Trustee Cherry, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Trustee Pratt.
Thank you.
Moving along to Fire and Rescue. Chief Beauchamp, we have a Deputy Chief recommendation.
All right, good evening. The fire department is requesting permission to promote Assistant Fire Chief Kevin Thompson to the vacant Deputy Fire Chief's position. Just a little overview, the fire department has 3 chief officers, myself as the chief, a deputy chief which is vacant, and assistant fire chief. In addition to administrative responsibilities, we rotate as an on-call or duty chief for after-hours response, so we always have a chief officer available. Chief Thompson joined the department in 2007. He was promoted to assistant chief in 2022.
Any questions for Chief Beauchamp? Be looking for a motion?
No, I don't have a question. I make a motion to approve Kevin Thompson as Deputy Chief Fire.
Support.
Motion made by Treasurer Bloomfield, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye. Sorry.
No opposition. Congratulations, Kevin.
All right, Kevin, can you stand up so we know who you are? All right, so we will now be posting the assistant fire chief's position. So probably early next year, we'll have a recommendation for that. On the next item on the agenda is an updated MABAS agreement. And MABAS stands for Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm Association Agreement. So it's a statewide agreement that handles a lot of the legal business in the fire rescue world. And we have, by resolution and previous agreements, this on file, but there's an amendment that Michigan MABAS is looking to get updated. And the only change in it was in Section 8 about special teams operations, that they were free for the first 8 hours, now they're not. So it's very taxing to bring in a specialized team to do that. So basically what we're looking for is permission to have Superintendent Hess sign the updated agreement, which focuses on that change in Section 8.
Any questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering. So this is where, because I was reading it and making sure I understood what it was about. It's where they come together collectively if there's a major disaster. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it really is. So smaller scale, we generally handle that within the county, but when we need to go outside of the county or our division, what it's called in the state, we can ask for a strike team, which would be like 5 engines coming. If we had a major disaster, tornado come through. There was a school shooting that occurred at Michigan State where they activated MABAS, that sort of thing. You can readily call for resources to react, and backfill stations, move up, help mitigate, and all the legalese is taken care of, and we're plug and play into that. So on the flip side, the department would act, and we can respond out, and we don't have to respond when we're requested for aid. Let's just say it's the east side of the state, but if we're ready to, we'd work with other departments in our area to staff an apparatus and deploy if we're available.
Gotcha. Awesome. I did understand it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Chief Beauchamp? Be looking for a motion for Superintendent.
So it's a resolution that you're adopting, so you want to make sure to do a roll call vote on that, and somebody should resolve to adopt it when they say the motion.
Attorney Thal, if it does help, we have a resolution on file, so this is signing an agreement. But we don't have a resolution prepared. It's from 2013.
Okay.
But since we have that, they're not requiring a new resolution, just signing this agreement, which was an amendment. So if that needs to happen, that's fine, but just wanted to clarify.
We'll just do it by roll call vote.
To authorize Superintendent?
Yeah.
So I'd be looking for a motion to authorize Superintendent Hess to sign the MABAS updated agreement.
Second.
We need a motion first, please. That's okay.
The roll call.
I make a motion to authorize Superintendent Hess to sign the updated agreement for the MABAS.
Motion made by Trustee Cherry. Looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee McIver seconds the motion. Roll call vote.
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Trustee McIver.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes. Passed.
Congrats.
All right, thank you. We'll get that taken care of. The next is just a discussion, and I guess to open up an invitation to discuss more about the fire department's proposed budget for next year. I've been working with Superintendent Hess and the finance director, still here, he's still here, on our budget for next year, and what we're proposing is to keep the assessment rates for fire operating and fire capital the same. Our budget we budgeted based on a worst case scenario. We do have several large grants that we're managing, and there was a government shutdown recently, so as of today, I was notified that that's back open to receive funds, so we have some reimbursements coming. We also received a pretty significant grant that the deputy chief wrote for our traffic incident management trailer to be reimbursed when it's deployed to even include neighboring departments. So we have a lot of moving parts that we're trying to navigate through. Additionally, after we were crashed into on all of our incidents last year, it wasn't the fire department's fault. We were parked on all of them and we were crashed into, emergency lights activated. But with that, there's a lot of insurance claims and replacements and repairs that had to take place. There's been a lot of navigating with the insurance companies. So a lot of moving around parts and pieces to make everything right, and we're close to being whole. So keeping that in mind, healthcare increases. We did increase some lines as far as contracted services. A lot of our platforms, like many others, are going online. So we had to kind of rearrange to get right size for where we're at currently technology. We proposed a 3% cost of living increase for all of our full and part-time personnel, as well as cleaning up our full-time personnel step raise that parallels what the township is doing, but we did have some significant gaps in ours. And because initially when it was adopted, we only had so much money, so we worked within what we had to work with. So what we had a few obstacles to overcome was if somebody got promoted to the rank of lieutenant to captain, let's say, a step 5 lieutenant may have to get promoted to a lieutenant step 2 or 3 to actually get a raise in pay, because the steps were not perfectly in line because there was only so much money to work with. So even with the constraints this year, we're proposing to make our full-time step raise scale appropriate, or as it should be. And we knew when the time was right, we'd propose that. Probably the biggest impact on our budget was upstaffing. This board approved it in around April to upstaff our traffic unit, to move it from our station 9-2 on H Avenue to relocate it to station 9-1 on River Street, and put an additional person on staff to essentially ensure that gets on the road at time of alarm as soon as we can, so that around the clock coverage 24/7 365 has impacted the budget. But with that, with the traffic incident management grant that the deputy chief grabbed for us, and just being fiscally responsible, we're not proposing any increases in the assessment districts.
Any questions for Chief Beauchamp?
Let them know they have it. Brett did hand out our proposed capital and operating budget for next year. So if there's any other questions between now and the next meeting, I'll be happy to address those. You can do it tonight, or if you got questions, I know it's a lot of numbers, I'd be happy to set up a time to review it.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief.
And the last order of business we have is we're requesting to hire a part-time probationary firefighter, Samuel Hoff. He lives outside the township, but within a secondary residency. This will bring our active roster to 47 personnel. And he already has firefighter 1 and 2. So he just needs EMS training, so that's a huge plus.
Any questions? I'd be looking for a motion for the request to hire a part-time probationary firefighter.
I make a motion for fire department to hire a part-time firefighter, probationary.
Support.
Motion made by Treasurer Bloomfield, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Moving along to planning and zoning. This evening, we have the second reading of ordinance number 562 at 6454 East ML. It's a rezoning request. Attorney Thal?
Yes, so this rezoning request, we accepted for first reading at the last meeting. This is scheduled for consideration of adoption, and it's to take the parcel from its current zoning of R1A, single-family district, to the AGR, agricultural residential district. And this has gone through Planning Commission public hearing. Planning Commission recommended approval, and it stands before you for approval today. Treasurer Bloomfield has a conflict of interest on this matter. As a charter township, you're all required to vote on everything unless you disclose a conflict of interest, and the board then takes motion to allow you to recuse yourself. So at this time,
I'd like to be recused, please, with a vote from the board.
Looking for a motion for Treasurer Bloomfield.
I make a motion that we, the board of Comstock, excuse the treasurer from voting on this issue.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Pratt, supported by trustee Amos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And Treasurer Bloomfield, would she be allowed to vote on that one?
She can vote on recusing herself, yes.
Aye. I'll join the ayes.
We got her done.
Thank you.
Okay, so does it, any opposed? Thank you, trustee Amos. Okay, so would be looking for a motion on the second reading of ordinance number 562 at 6454 East ML.
Go ahead, please.
I can make a motion to support the second reading of ordinance 562-4, I'm sorry, 6454 East ML rezoning.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Amos, supported by trustee Pratt. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Give me. Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Sorry. Trustee McIver.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes. Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Be it.
Motion passes. Moving along to, under the clerk department, we'll hand it over to Superintendent Hess for the farmland development rights.
Good evening. Yes, we had an application come in from Priscilla Smith requesting a farmland property located in Comstock Township. Her request is to put this into the PA 116 program. A maximum allowance for that would be 90 years. Part of the process is that we had to send this to the Kalamazoo County Planning for their review. That came back and reviewed the application with no comments, so that means that can move forward to the state with our board's approval. And it's pretty much locking it in for a PA program. What do they get, a tax?
They have a tax abatement with that, and then it's locked in.
Allows them to lock it in and not pull that out at any time. So if applicant pulls that out of any type of PA program, then they would pay, I think it's a portion or all the back tax increments that they save throughout the years. It's a formula.
Correct.
I think the motion here is to approve the application for the farmland agreement submitted by Patricia Smith, and then that would be forwarded to the state of Michigan.
I have a question. In the motion, do we need to identify the farm tract number on that motion?
I think it's sufficient if you reference the application.
Yeah.
So if you just reference the application of Patricia Smith, received October 2nd, 2025.
Be looking for a motion on this matter?
I have to roll call that too.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application for farmland agreement submitted by Patricia Smith to be submitted to the state of Michigan.
Support.
Motion made by trustee McIver, supported by treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote?
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes. Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Trustee McIver.
Yes.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving along to supervisor. We moved the matter of addressing complaints from the clerk's department just to supervisor. One thing I think that we'll have is complaints, and we've received a number of complaints, and I had the question, at some point, we would need to identify the type of complaints. If it were a complaint regarding an employee, we wouldn't be able to likely put that in a public packet. We wouldn't be able to discuss it publicly without giving that employee an opportunity for a closed session. If we identify that the complaint was for an employee, or if we categorized it that a complaint was an elected official, how would we handle those? I think that could be the discussion that we could all have. And then as well as if those complaints, if we would want to open ourselves into putting them in the packet. That may or may not be a good idea. And then another thing that we've done previously is there was a complaint, there was things that happened, and then an elected official was censured. So I think it's important for us to all seek advice from Attorney Thal on how we would want to handle those matters. I think it would be good to have a policy so we can identify this is a complaint, this is the category of the complaint, and this is how we're going to move forward through it. And I think that the faster that we acknowledge complaints and handle through them and work these matters out, maybe productively, positively together as a board, as well as with the community, we could move this township forward. So, Attorney Thal, do you have any advice for us?
What I'd like to do is, and I've done presentations throughout the state on ethics to township boards and to township members. And so what I'd like to do is do a presentation for you, a similar presentation on ethics, which addresses, the different, you hear people cite different statutes and so forth. It would teach you about what the different statutes are that are applicable to the board. I think that'll help direct then a policy. So if I would do this presentation for you on ethics, then we could talk about how you want to proceed as a board in handling ethics complaints and items like that. But I think it'd be really good for you to first have the general knowledge of what ethics, what they are, what types of actions you can take, what the laws, the various laws are on it, and then that'll help you then direct me to create a policy for you as to how you want to handle complaints. Because I think it's obviously it's going to be your policy as to how you want to handle it, but I think you need to know what all the different legal implications are, what the laws are in that regard. So that would be kind of my recommendation. And, I can do that anytime the board wants. You could have a special meeting, special workshop on it. I could do a presentation for you at the workshop. I have a PowerPoint on that already prepared. And then we could address how this board would want to handle complaints.
That's what I was going to ask, is if after the presentation, after we were informed, if we'd be able to workshop, and then perhaps the workshop could lead towards creation of policy?
Yeah, so that's what I would think. That's why I would do it as a workshop. And, then you can have the presentation, then we can all talk about how this board might want to handle complaints.
Treasurer Bloomfield, do you have any insight for us, questions, ideas?
Not at this time.
Trustee McIver?
No, I don't, not right now.
Thank you. Trustee Pratt?
I think that would be an excellent idea for a presentation, and especially concerning law and ethics. I think in the presentations that we've had previously with the MSU, I believe that you had people come and they spoke with ethics. I found that very valuable. And I think it's a key point on some of the things I've experienced in the past. So I think this would be something that we could perhaps schedule as soon as possible.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Trustee McIver, did you have anything for us?
No, I thought about it, and I just said I didn't have anything, but I amend that. I think the workshop would be a great idea. I really do.
Thank you, Trustee McIver. Trustee Amos?
Yes, I think the workshop would be a good idea, Mr. Thal.
Trustee Cherry?
Oh, you want honesty? Okay. I do think the workshop is a fantastic idea to hopefully stop the bullying high school tactics that's happening with the complaints, because it's doing nothing but tearing us apart. I mean, it really is. And we do need to come together. Residents have said that, we have said that, we do need to come together. As a board, we do this collectively. You know, we're all one, this is nobody's personal business, it's, hey, let's do this together. So I am all for it. Thank you, Attorney Thal, for the recommendation.
So one thing that we've spoke is cost and things like that, and so do you recommend that we do a special meeting for that instead of blending it in with business on a township and having a township regular meeting agenda, or that would just make a long meeting? What would your take?
However you'd want to do it, but, you know, you're going to need a few hours. You know, the presentation can be an hour presentation with questions, and then, you know, the time it would take to work, you know, to kind of discuss what your options are and what the board is thinking. I think a workshop is good. I know it costs more to do that, but a workshop is good. If you want to have a 4-hour meeting or something, you know, that I don't think it's productive to do it that way, because people will be more wanting to just, you know, kind of get out of the meeting.
Yeah. Treasurer Bloomfield, would you be okay with a special meeting?
Yes.
Trustee MacGyver?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would be okay. Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry?
Absolutely.
Would we need a motion to schedule a special meeting, and then we could put a date to it later when the clerk's back?
You can always just coordinate a time.
And then just call a special meeting?
Yeah, because as supervisor, you can call a special meeting, so you would be able to just...
Would the board be okay if we do a little coordination on time, see Attorney Thal's schedule, our schedule, and then I'll call a special meeting and we'll have a workshop?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Attorney Thal. Moving along to waiving the attorney-client privilege on the Clark Hill report. This has been a conversation we've had as a board. It was brought back up this evening. There was maybe one or two motions that were denied to waive privilege. I think anytime that you have a public expenditure into a report, it's for transparency. It's good for people to know what you're spending your money on. But at the time, the attorneys mentioned that that opens a can of worms to liability for the township. And so we have to have that discussion on how far we're willing to go to be transparent and perhaps put the township in harm's way. So I would like to ask Attorney Thal his insight on doing such a thing.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that report itself, but you always, if it's an employment report, those are always issues that, you know, you have to be really careful if you are going to release something like that, because it can incur liability one way or another. Again, I don't know what's in that report, but at a minimum, if you did want to consider releasing it, you should have conversation with the attorney that prepared it at Clark Hill. Make sure that attorney is comfortable with it being released. And if so, is there anything that needs to be redacted out of that report? So I think that's probably the approach to take. If there's consideration to waive it, then probably somebody needs to reach out to the attorney from Clark Hill and kind of get their thought on it. And then also, you know, if it's something that would be moved forward, then, you know, possible redactions by that attorney.
And I believe at that meeting, if anybody else recalls, she was not in favor of us doing that.
So, I mean, typically I would follow the attorney's advice.
Part of it was the protection for the people that, the witnesses, for lack of a better word. They were afraid of retaliation, which rightly so. I mean, you never know with people, so that was the biggest concern, I think.
So. Trustee Pratt?
I agree with that statement there from Trustee Sherry. And it has been many, many months since the original report was issued. There's been changes. There's been new allegations brought up by individuals. We always hear transparency, which is good, and we support that. And I think this would be a measure with precautions, as Attorney Thal has indicated, that we could go forward and talk about with the previous attorney to see about the release of the report. It's something that was demanded by people. We couldn't do it at that point in time because of some legalities and such. But again, we're nearly, we're several months down the road, and some of the issues that were discussed there, in my opinion, have not changed, unfortunately. And again, if we took precautions to protect people, as Trustee Sherry has said, I think that is open for discussion. And I think, as Attorney Thal indicated, that our first step should be with the previous attorney to see what her recommendations are now, as opposed to what they were several months behind us or earlier.
Trustee Amos?
I'm against having this discussion. However, if you're going to turn out the information, give out the information, you need to give it all out or none. You're not going to pick and choose about who's going to say what. You should release all the information or none at all. And I didn't like the report because the report really did not do what it was designated to do. And I'll just leave it at that.
Any other board discussion?
No, thanks.
Trustee McIver?
No, I'm all set.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes, I agree with Trustee Amos that what the board had decided to do with this hiring of this HR attorney is not what it came to be. And if we're going to have transparency, we need to release the whole report in its entirety, everything.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. I would say if we release the report and we redact parts of it, that's like telling part of a story. And so I also don't agree. I think it would be all or nothing. And so I would make a motion to deny waiving attorney-client privilege on the Clark Hill report. I'd be looking for a second.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote. Attorney Thal, will you explain our vote for us? Sorry.
As I understand it, the motion on the table is to not waive attorney-client privilege.
Correct.
And so a vote of yes means that you agree not to waive privilege. A vote no would mean that you want to waive privilege.
Sorry, could you repeat that, please?
So the motion on the table is to not waive privilege on the memorandum or report. So if you vote yes, you're voting to not waive privilege. If you vote no, that means that the converse, that you want to waive privilege.
Thank you, Attorney Thal. Roll call.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving along to Homeless Committee appointments. So we have formed a Homeless Committee, and the goal of the Homeless Committee, as public comment had mentioned, we're one stop right out of Kalamazoo, and we've increased the population of unhoused individuals, and we heard from our ordinance officer, Dakota, Dakota, do you have anything for us this evening to share your slight experience and what prompted the idea and what you've seen and what your hopes for this committee are?
Yeah, I'll keep it kind of brief. I've seen since probably May a huge increase in the homeless population here in Comstock. April wasn't too bad, but once the weather got nice, we saw more and more of it. Some people were more transient than others, so they wouldn't stay around long. We were just a stopping point from point A to point B. Talking with them, some people came from Battle Creek and were stopping in here until they get to Kalamazoo or vice versa. I have received a lot of complaints from people about the homeless. So much so it was kind of hard to keep track. As it stands right now, for this month, between myself and the Parks Department, there was 7 different sites that we picked up so far. Parks Department was responsible for 4 of them that I found. So it's been an ongoing thing. Probably not going to get any better since the leaves have fallen. We can see more of these encampments now. That's how I found some of them in the parks. So my goal for this was to was twofold: to one, help the homeless, help get them the resources that they need, kind of help them get to the final destination here in Comstock, whether that be to the mission, the gospel. Get them into some sort of housing program, but on the same side, not encourage them camping in our parks, not doing drugs in our parks. It's also creating some ordinances as well to help make that more difficult. So make it easier for them to change their life, to change their life around, but make it more difficult for them to keep camping where they're camping at.
Thank you, Dakota. Appreciate it. And so, as Dakota and I spoke, and we spoke with the board, one of our goals was to help create an ordinance for an enforceable ordinance. That way, when Dakota's out and about or the sheriff's department has an encounter, we have an ordinance, and then they can stand by that language in the ordinance to be able to take action to remove somebody. We also, I was able to meet with the City of Kalamazoo Police Department and look at some different trespass waivers and different things. It's important if we were going to take action that we need to do it constitutionally, lawfully, and so part of the workable ordinance, enforceable ordinance would be to do it lawfully. And then on the other hand, as Dakota mentioned, we also want to provide resources and resource solutions. And the reason we said resource solutions was because it's up to them if they want to take those. So we have, as a board, we agreed to form a committee. The proposals for the committee are 4 residents that we're bringing to the board tonight for a vote. Jason Knight, Jason Tolhurst, Karen Burke, and Judy Joling. And then William Knight is from the VFW. Logan Bishop is from the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department, and I'll be on the board as the supervisor. We've received a memorandum of appointment of William Knight to the committee from the VFW on October 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Discussion of a homeless committee being formed at Comstock Township was presented to the officers and VFW members present during the monthly VFW meeting during new business. Members were informed that the township board members had extended 1 seat to the VFW during their meeting, and we were looking for a volunteer and appointment. The motion was discussed and passed. 9 votes as yes, none as nays for our acceptance and appointment of William Knight as our representative. On behalf of Foreign Service Veterans of 6252, thank you for emphasizing care and attention to the homeless issues in the township and reasonable ordinances for discussion. Your leadership is truly appreciated, and we're honored to help in thoughtful discussions. So I make a motion to approve the homeless committee as presented with Jason Knight, Jason Tolhurst, Karen Burke, Judy Joling, William Knight, Logan Bishop, and Ben Martin. I'd be looking for a second.
Support.
Board discussion?
How many total members do we have here?
7.
7, as we had discussed previously.
Trustee Cherry, do you have anything?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with Trustee Pratt.
Okay. Trustee Amos? Trustee Pratt, anything further?
Not at this time, no.
Trustee MacGyver?
And looking at those people's resumes, they all look like they had some great experience in the past with these people who can really step up and help. Jason Knight especially, he's very, I'm sorry. Jason Knight is very knowledgeable and passionate about homeless people. And I think it'll be a great committee, I think.
Thank you, Trustee MacGyver. Treasurer Bloomfield?
When's your first meeting scheduled?
We're going to work that out once you guys may or may not approve this. So, but we had some preliminary discussion on a timeline to end it, but I think we may need to make some adjustments because it's going to be a short and sweet committee. We're going to get right to work, and then some of those resources that we find, those will be tools for Dakota. Once this committee helps identify some of these resources, then if he has an encounter with somebody, it'll open up his portfolio of resources.
Nice.
So I made the motion. I believe there was a second, and we do a roll call vote.
Is it? Okay.
Doesn't have to be, but we can just do it that way.
Okay. Trustee MacGyver.
Yes.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes.
Motion passes.
No idea what the motion was.
The motion was to, the homeless committee appointments.
Oh.
And then Ben made the first motion, Bloomfield second.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, moving along to the moratorium discussion. So as we know, we have had a moratorium committee, and maybe some of the members of the public aren't informed. So I will help let them know what we did. We formed a moratorium committee. It was with 3 board members and 2 planning commission members. We had recently, through this time period, we've had speakers like the Michigan Public Service Commission. We've had a University of Michigan. We had engineers. We heard from public comments. We heard from developers. We workshopped as a moratorium committee, and then we had joint meetings with the Planning Commission. In those joint meetings, we looked at language, decommissioning, setbacks, different zonings for that. And through that process, one of the things that was intriguing is we heard from the Michigan Public Service Commission on Public Act 233. And that's something that you feel like a board, you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. If you don't create a workable ordinance, perhaps the state's going to do it anyways. And so through that process, what we learned from that presentation was that it's a holistic approach. Just because you apply to the state doesn't mean that it's rubber stamped and that you lose all say. We learned that there's an intervention process, and municipalities are granted intervention funds to intervene. And so we looked at it from the standpoint of learning about the application process being 1,500 plus pages, and there is a live docket that's available on the Michigan Public Service website. Currently, I believe there's only 2 or 3 solar projects, and I believe the same company is on there twice. There's no battery energy storage. I spoke with the director of the Michigan Public Service Commission today, and as it stands, there has been only 1 pre-application for a battery energy storage facility. And so there's a process where a developer, which our developer is running a parallel, they're working on applying through the state while we work through a workable ordinance. They've emailed me as the chief elected official, which is registered in the language of the act to ask if we have a CREO. And we replied, and they also asked if we were willing to meet. I replied back that we do not have a CREO and that I would be willing to meet with the developer. If we reply that we have a CREO and we don't have a CREO, then we would lose our intervenor funds, which could be upwards of $75,000. We don't have a CREO, so I properly replied, don't have a CREO, I'm willing to meet. We further engaged with the developer on a workable ordinance, and then the developer has moved towards the scheduling of meeting. So I'll be meeting with the developer. And through that process, we're listening to residents, we've listened to the school board, we've seen a professional engineering report, and then essentially my concern is that we have a moratorium, we have a timeline, and we're not done. I believe there's still work to be had. I've reached out to some other township supervisors who have a battery energy storage project in their community. I reached out to schedule a tour. Anything that I've ever done personally, I like to go see it. I like to be involved. I like to know as much as possible about it. So I would be interested to go see a facility, have firsthand experience at something like this. I learned that we're still leaving some chips on the table. I don't think that we are at the point of that it's the best that it could be. Originally, in October of 2024, there was an ordinance that was passed for battery energy storage, and that work is to be commended because with the information that was there at the time, it was developed. But I'm always under the impression you can always better your best. And at this point, even if we think that our ordinance that we have written or proposed for a recommendation, if we think it's good, maybe we could wake up tomorrow and make it better. So with that, Attorney Thal, do you have any additions on our process, the input? What's your thoughts on the committee's work?
Yeah, I think that was a good recitation of, what's gone on so far. But the committee has put in really good work on trying to improve the township ordinance, hear from experts, hear from the public, trying to better the existing ordinance and make a workable ordinance, which is, will serve the township better. So that's what your end goal is, with the process, is to improve your ordinance that you currently have. And you've been diligently working on that for some time now. What's happening is you're reaching the end of the moratorium, which is to the end of the year. So December 31st is the end of the moratorium. You can, if you choose to, as a board, you can extend the moratorium by resolution prior to its expiration. So that's one of your options that you could take. Another is to let the moratorium expire on its own. At that point, then they could proceed under the old ordinance at that time, but as long as you would get an ordinance in place prior to their approval from the Planning Commission or before they start substantial construction, you could still make them comply with a new ordinance. So you would have some time, even if you did let it, one option is extend the moratorium for a period of time so that you can finish the process. And I think you're probably pretty close to where you want to be. Maybe you want to go visit the facility. You've got revisions in front of you now. You've had your public hearings before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission can take action now at this point and make a recommendation. My understanding is they're going to have a work session with the Moratorium Committee and Planning Commission together this Thursday on the 20th. And, after that occurs, the Planning Commission can make further revisions to the ordinance and make an ultimate recommendation to the Township Board. And then the Township Board would have a recommended ordinance to consider for adoption. So and once the Township Board gets it, it takes 2 readings before you can adopt it. So there's a little bit of time there that will probably extend past the new year. Even if, there's a recommendation coming out of the Planning Commission following the 20th or, a subsequent meeting. So your options are to either extend the moratorium or let it expire. And if it expires, as long as you're diligently continuing to work on your workable ordinance, I think you're probably fine in that regard too. If they would try to apply with the Planning Commission and the Township Board still under consideration of new ordinance provisions, it's kind of their risk, because as soon as you would adopt those new provisions, they'd have to comply with those. So that's kind of where things stand.
Can you explain the just in simple part, the original letter for a meeting opportunity to meet in a CREO, and why that's important to answer that properly, and what the CREO means for the residents, for their understanding?
Yeah, so with Public Act 233, it provides the state a process to basically preempt the township zoning authority. So a developer on a large-scale wind project, solar project, or battery project they can work through the township, and that's what we're doing with the workable ordinance. Or if they find it unworkable, where you're just basically prohibiting them, they can go to the state. They could go to the state in any case, but they're going to try to work with you if they can. If they can't, then they have the option to go to the state of Michigan and ask the Public Service Commission for approval of their project. When they ask for approval of the project, it doesn't matter what the zone is that they're in. Zoning is our township thing. It doesn't apply at the state level. So when they're looking at where to locate their facilities, zoning is not a consideration. It is, other factors regarding the location of their property. And some of the standards, and so one of the things that's built into that law is that the township could adopt what's called a CREO, a compatible renewable energy ordinance. And a CREO allows the township to retain control. So if you have a CREO, they have to come through the township board to get approval. But the problem with the CREO is you can't be any more stringent than what's in the state law under these certain very rigid standards, and they're very weak standards. So for a CREO, for a battery storage, you can't require it to be any further than 300 feet from an occupied dwelling or a community building. So under the state law, if you had a CREO, they could put battery storage 300 feet from a school, 300 feet from somebody's home. All right, you can do better with your ordinance, with a workable ordinance. So that's why the CREO was set up under state law, but really ineffective, because nobody really wants to have a CREO where you're going to go through a local approval process, but your standards are so weak because they're just based on the state law. You can't require anything further than that state law, those few provisions in the state law, or they can go straight to the state and bypass you if you deny it for any other reason. So we never recommend at this point to do a CREO. It's just ineffective. So when they're going to go to the state, they have to ask you, the first thing in that process is, do you have a CREO? Because if you have one, they have to go through your CREO, your compatible renewable energy ordinance. We don't have one. We have what's called a workable ordinance, which puts in much more stringent standards than the state law. And so in that circumstance, they send a letter to the supervisor saying, hey, we want to start the state process. Do you have a CREO? If we have a CREO, they got to go through the local process. We say, no, we don't have a CREO, but the next step in that state process is a meeting with the township supervisor. And so that's where we stand right now, is that part of the process, is a meeting with the supervisor. After that meeting, they can move forward, they can have a public meeting, and they can move forward with the application to the state of Michigan, if they choose.
And with that public meeting, they have to have in between the meeting with the supervisor and the scheduling of the public meeting, the public hearing, there's no time limit in between that. I learned that today, but they have to do a 30-day notice.
Yeah, there's certain notice requirements that they would have to do to put on a public meeting where they would hear from the public regarding their project. But then the next step after that is application to the state of Michigan.
And today I learned the pre-application status is they are required before they apply to have a pre-application meeting and that also has a 30-day notice as well. And then after those multiple steps would be done, then they would set a timeline at that pre-application to then formally have a submitted application.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are ways from a submitted application. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into a state application that they probably wouldn't be able to submit one until, spring or something like that, if they were to try to move forward in that direction. So that's why I do think you have time to get your workable ordinance in place that you're comfortable with before they, but, if they feel at any time that they want to just, move forward with the state, and they are kind of moving forward in a parallel manner to cover their bases, I would suspect that's probably spring is when they would move forward with at least a couple months into next year before they would be ready to move forward with the application to the state.
And with an extension of a moratorium, would there be, in that extension, if that were to happen, would there be a specific timeline you'd have to identify?
You would, yeah. You would always want to have a timeline for an extension. So if you did a resolution to extend, you'd want to say, whether you'd say a couple more months or 2 months, you can always take action before that, but
right.
You'd want to do that. Now, they could just say, oh, you have a moratorium in place, we can go straight to the state also with the moratorium.
But they could go straight to the state with the workable as well?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And so my question would be, is for township liability purposes and diligently doing the work that we're doing, I've been told by multiple agencies that a lot of townships go into a moratorium as just I don't know what to do, I don't want this, and it's a bluff and they don't do anything. If the work is not done and there's a sense of urgency that could possibly cause rushing and cobbling something together, would a moratorium extension legally protect the township better in any instance?
Well, the moratorium that you put in place is very legally supportable because you have engaged in a really detailed process of trying to learn more, get more educated, work on the ordinance provisions. It's not just a hold up to say, hey, we're just not going to do anything. We're going to put a moratorium in place for a year or 2 years and just try to just hold you up. I mean, ultimately, in this venue with Act 233, it doesn't do any good because at some point they just say enough's enough and we're going to the state.
And another question that I have, our first presentation meeting that we had was by the great attorney Robert Thal for our moratorium committee. And you had mentioned that it was prudent that we are in a moratorium, and at that point with the litigation for Public Act 233, if we were to have a workable ordinance to hold that ordinance. I know a lot of time has passed since then. Do you have any change of thoughts or any insight on that?
So there is litigation on the rules, the Michigan Public Service Commission's rules. So,
can you ask him to, thank you.
So with Act 233, the MPSC adopted rules to it, and those rules are subject to challenge right now. So there's litigation filed on the Act 233 rules. It's not going to knock out Act 233, but it does challenge the MPSC's rules that they put in place. I've actually filed a brief, in support of municipalities and against Act 233 in that Court of Appeals case. But it's been filed for about a year, and we're still just waiting for the Court of Appeals to set oral argument and hear that case. But it doesn't knock out Act 233. It will address the rules, and, I can't say how a court would rule on that at this time. But the MPSC at this time is also, there's no stay. So I believe they asked for a stay from the court, which was denied, so that the MPSC can continue to process applications while the case is pending. So with that in place, I still think you work on a workable ordinance. I've had some places that shelve it after they've worked on it, but you already have an interested party in your township. You know, sometimes they'll shelve them so that nobody comes to their town. You know, they don't want to advertise that they have a workable ordinance. But in your case, you already have a developer who has identified your township to place their facility, and, along with our process here, has initiated the process with the state to locate their facility here. So I don't think that's an option for you to just kind of table your workable ordinance. I think you have to work on one. It's appropriate. The work you've been doing is really good. Your moratorium is not a sham. It's a real thing set up properly, and you're just in a place where you're going to work on your workable ordinance. If it's not workable, they'll just go to the state.
Thank you, Attorney Thal.
Questions on this, on the upcoming meeting between the CIP?
1 second, Trustee Pratt. We'll go into discussion after there's a motion on the table.
Okay.
I make a motion to extend the large-scale renewable battery energy storage moratorium for 6 months after the ending date of the current moratorium.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Pratt. Board discussion? Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Amos. Board discussion? Trustee Pratt?
Yes, on a further extension, I simply would be opposed to that, and it's not, I think it's time to make a decision. There has been great work performed. Every capacity I've worked in, military, state of Michigan, get oodles of information. There comes a time you have to make a decision. And as we've talked before, counting the previous workable ordinance and the work that has been going on in the past several months, we're getting to, it's going to be close to a 2-year time period on this one ordinance. And that has concerned me before. It still concerns me. And it's not that I have anything more in this debate than you or anyone else on this board. It's a process that is built into our system. You have to make a decision at some point in time. And as we had talked at previous discussions on the moratorium, and I had proposed myself, include the updates that Attorney Kaufman and Attorney Thal had made, that the committees had made, include those in the moratorium or into the ordinance and get it done with. And from my perspective, we could go on forever. There's oodles of experts out there either way. And we could go on 6 months, 8 months, another year talking with experts, and they all would have great input, I'm sure. But there always comes a time you have to make a decision. And I think we're beyond that time. And so I would not support an extension. Thank you.
Trustee Amos?
Well, I think this is a very important project, and there's a lot of, for safety and hazards, I don't think you can be too safe. The Attorney Thal says that we have more time, and so I can see why should we rush into it now after all the work that we've put into it.
Thank you, Trustee Amos. Trustee McIver?
I'm just a bit lost on this. Honestly, I want to be honest with you guys. But we have been, this thing has been beat up. People want it, people don't want it. Don't we have to have something in place that's part of green energy, or something that's like the BESS system or solar arrays by a certain time? Attorney Thal?
The question is if you have to have green energy or a renewable energy ordinance in a certain amount of time, correct? I mean,
Yes.
and the answer is no. I mean, you can just deny, you can just say we're not going to do it and let it go to the state, because that's what they'll do if they want. You know, if you just say, nope, we're not going to approve anything, you don't have to approve anything. There's municipalities that just, you know, say, fine, just go to the state. I mean, so that is an option. But, you know, our opinion has always been that the workable ordinance is a better route to go, to try to create an ordinance that protects the township as best you can, puts in more stringent standards than the state of Michigan will put in, and, you know, process it locally rather than through the state of Michigan. Our opinion is you're always going to get a more caring decision from your local boards, from your planning commission, from your township board, than if it goes to the state of Michigan. And we can put in more stringent standards, which you are working on and putting into your moratorium or into your workable ordinance to strengthen your local ordinance, but at the same time, you know, make it so it is actually workable rather than just a prohibition. But you don't have to adopt anything if you don't want to, but that just means they'll go straight to the state.
Any further questions, Trustee MacGyver?
No, why you suggested we drop the moratorium, right?
I suggest that we extend it.
Why do we need to extend it if we're going to have a workable ordinance that'll protect the community against?
We're not done with our work. It's the holiday season, and there's an emphasis on the township board needs 2 readings, and I think that there's a lot of work to still be done. We also have a school board in the school district that opposes this project and the site selection. We have $33 million school with an $18 million renovation. That's $50 million worth of community invested assets, plus our land, water, air. Once we make a decision, there's no going back. So if we've got to keep bettering our best every day until we get it right, in my opinion, I don't think that we have it right, and I don't think that we have negotiated for our township to the best ability that we could.
And what are you going to negotiate for? What are we going to negotiate for?
Well, the first work of order would be safety, and we all took a oath of office for the health, safety, and welfare, and that should be the first and foremost. But then if we do have a workable ordinance, the reality is that monetary value comes in, that the state allows payment, and you get paid per megawatt. And so there are things that we can negotiate. There's things that community benefits that these developers, when they come into communities, like for example, money should never overweigh a project like this, but in the reality that there's money involved. Coldwater Township has a 100 megawatt BESS battery energy storage system. It's in a cornfield and you can't see anything. There's just the tip of the farmer's house, and the town is quite far away. They have a payment of $60,000 for 20 years. That's $1.2 million. It's a 100 megawatt system, $1.2 million divisible by 100 megawatts is $12,000 per megawatt. Our ordinance says $2,500. So we are being proposed $1 million for 400 megawatts. If we were to move forward through a workable ordinance, we certainly don't want our taxpayers to pay the burden of this project. We don't want to be in the red, and there has to be some sort of risk versus reward. And so if we're going to assume the risk, we need to be highly rewarded in community benefits and move our township forward. And I just don't think that we're at a place right now where we're ready for that. A 6-month extension would not short sell us, but if we were done before then, we could be done. But if we are not done and we leave ourselves even the slightest chance of, with risk and liability, it would be better to have an extension and protect the township than not. That would be my opinion.
Thank you.
Trustee Cherry?
I know you can visit Western, they have a BESS. So if it's local and it's close, you wouldn't have to go very far.
I've been trying for months to schedule a meeting with them for our Moratorium committee. It's just a 1 megawatt unit, but
Give you a general idea.
Yeah, I've tried to set us all up with a Moratorium committee meeting to go with Derek from Consumers, and I've been trying since day one, and it just hasn't happened.
Right.
So my hopes are perhaps we could go see this one sooner.
Sure. And as Attorney Thal pointed out, even if, because I would like to see the ordinance now, right? Because I know that the Planning Commission and the Moratorium Committee has done a ton of work on it. And he was mentioning that, it'd be a first reading, a second reading, so on and so forth. It's going to push us into the new year as it is. So I don't think extending for 6 months, if we get a workable ordinance in place that protects us, then what you negotiate after the fact for the rewards, that's going to come after. That's not going to be all totally rolled into the ordinance. So that's coming after the fact. So we still need to get a workable ordinance in place. So, and I think that they've done a good job. Well, I don't know.
Our workable ordinance is like our contract, so that megawatt funding and different things like that can be built in, and then other additional benefits can happen later.
Right, that's what I just said. Yeah,
But
that's exactly what I just said.
But the ordinance now is the upfront of the meat and potatoes of it.
Which they have been working on diligently, correct?
Permission to speak.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
We have not addressed any finances whatsoever, and this has all just came to light after a trip down to Coldwater to see really what is out there for finances from these. So the answer to you is our ordinance with what they offered us is basically nothing. It's a joke. And we can be lucky we caught that. And with that being said, may I continue?
Yes.
Attorney Thal, can you go over some of the changes that were made from, the major changes that we made from the first ordinance from 2024 till current? Like I know one of them, and one of them, one of them was the decommissioning, and with speaking with the people from Coldwater, their exact words were, hold your ground. Do not change what you're asking for decommissioning. That was just one of the things. So for us to continue to work, I'm willing to work more because I discovered a lot of things going down there and getting an education. And I would actually like to go to another place, not locally, and that was my next question to you also was, where else could we go other than Coldwater?
The Coldwater is the only one I'm aware of, and that's, I'm sure there's others in the state, but Coldwater is, I know, one that's just come on. And so I think it's a good one to go see at 100 megawatts because it's going to be a lot different than looking at, say, a 1 megawatt battery storage. Isn't going to tell you much about how 400 megawatts will be handled, but 100 megawatts will tell you a lot about how 400 would be handled because they're in these separate units, and you can just increase the megawattage by more of those units. So if you see 100 megawatts, you get an idea of what that's going to look like and what type of, and you're just going to have 4 times that at 400 megawatts.
So Trustee Cherry, in our ordinance, our language, right now it says 2,500 per megawatt community host agreement, and their math is working out 12,000 per megawatt.
And some of that is based on the state law. So the state law says that you can have a 2,000. So if they went to the state of Michigan, you could what you'd get is 2,000 a megawatt, but one-time payment, that's it. If you negotiate something, you can negotiate obviously better than that. So like you're talking about, megawattage payments annually for 20 years, which is far beyond what the state law allows for, but it is a negotiated thing with the companies, as you negotiate, if you're comfortable with your ordinance, first and foremost, you need to be comfortable with your ordinance and the safety protections in your ordinance. And so some of the things that the Moratorium Committee, one of the things the Moratorium Committee did is there's a setback now of 2,000 feet from a sensitive area or a high-density type of development. And so, for the school, it's got to be set back 2,000 feet under your ordinance. That's much different than the state law, which says 300 feet. So that is a huge improvement by your Moratorium Committee. Other things that you're looking at are fire safety plan, hazardous response plans, better decommissioning, things all that would create a better and safer project for you. But then, you've got then the financial aspects to consider. But I don't think you're that far from being done. I mean, it sounds like, there's more, you want to see more, you want to look at a few more things, but it's not like, I don't think it's anything that anybody's dragging their feet on. I think it's, legitimate concerns of how to get it done and get it done in a way that is best for the township. And I think you're in that process, so I don't think it's going to take you 6 months to complete the process at this point. And I would be concerned at 6 months that they're going to, like I said, I think by spring, they would probably be moving forward with the application to the state. So it gives you a little time, to work it out. And I think you can do that good job within that time frame, but I'd be concerned a little bit about 6 months that they might just take that and say, hey, if you're going to do this for 6 months, we're just going to go to the state. And we have that with one of the applicants that's before the state right now, who they just had a hearing. But my understanding is they're pulling a lot of the things they said they would do for the local community out and just saying, forget it, we'll just go to the state.
In the timeline for the state, when they applied, there would be at least a year?
It's a year process. They can go to, they have to finish within a year, and they can extend it to another year. So it can be up to a 2-year process through the state at the outside edge. But they're supposed to deal with the application within 1 year.
Thank you, Attorney Thalen. My thought is that for the Moratorium Committee, for the Planning Commission, for the Moratorium Committee, Planning Commission joint meetings, also for the Township Board. The Township Board is going to have the ultimate say in the ordinance. So it would be good to have the time and not need it, rather than need it and not have it. And so to take the time, for all the time that we've already spent, to not rush it through. And I've been in those meetings and I've watched the meetings, and there is a sense of time to end this and just get this done by the end of the moratorium, and I just don't think that that's acceptable. I think we have land, water, a community. We have it one time given to us, and we need to make the right decision.
But they also rezoned it, took agricultural out of it. So not near the school. They took all that out of there to avoid all of that. That's, yes.
Well, it's,
so that I do remember.
Yeah, what I would say is it can't be within 2,000 feet of the school.
No, the ordinance completely rezoned and took that agricultural aspect out of it. So they can't put it near the school if we get that ordinance in place. But if we don't, they can go wherever they want.
Well, yeah, none of our more stringent restrictions apply if they go to the state.
Right.
Can you address the second public hearing that we just had in regards to the school's concern of the floating overlay?
Yeah, the school is still concerned. Their engineer, and I haven't reviewed their engineering report or anything, but their engineering report said it should be located a mile from the school. So I don't know what that looks like if you're locating a facility a mile from all schools in your township.
And so the floating overlay with the removal of ag, there's still 2 public hearings. There was one public hearing that proposed removing ag and putting a overlay, not a floating overlay, south of I-94 and the farmlands further away from residential houses. The committee developed that overlay because of the distances between schools, but then there was the developer proposed an alternative site of Hickory Ridge Golf Course, and that prompted revisions, which made it required to have a second public hearing, and the implications at the second public hearing were to create a floating overlay at the golf course. So there's 2 public hearing kind of.
Yeah, they had, so the planning commission has had 2 public hearings on it and is really free to then make recommendation on what they think the best route is to go for the overlay. So yeah, there was at one point overlay on in the ag area across the highway. And the company though said that would not work for them. So it becomes no longer a workable ordinance. It becomes a prohibitive ordinance and they'll go straight to the state.
And at that point, the committee wasn't aware that the ITC substation was the only substation. The Jaguar is the one that they have would it be a federal license in order to hook up to? So we thought that there's another substation somewhere else, perhaps an open farmland, that they could connect to that. But we didn't realize at the time that the Jaguar is the only substation that they're interested in. And the reason 400 megawatts is being proposed is because that's its maximum capacity.
I would think by the second meeting in December, that gives the Planning Commission, the Moratorium Committee, joint committee meetings, more than enough time to come up with a final workable, well, at least a workable ordinance that we can at least look at and go, this is headed in the right direction. Now what do we want to do? That would be by the end of the year. And then we could move forward from there and go, now where do we want to go? Do we want to hold off? Do we want to, what is CIP? Is that the name of the company? Mm-hmm. What is CIP doing? Where are they going? Where are they at in the process? So.
One of the reasons with that substation is they have to get in basically a line to get connected into the grid, and that's like a 3-year process to do. And they've been working through that process to hook into the substation. And so if they were to go somewhere else, it would have to start basically over with their process.
Unless they were to explore another property and find another solution.
Yeah,
if that's possible.
Right.
Any further board member comments? Trustee Amos? Trustee Pratt?
Yes, just one here. When we had, thank you. When we had discussion earlier and with and MSU as well as U of M gave input, and I did a follow-up with the extension, MSU extension, concerning the moratorium in general. And within the state of Michigan, 6 months was considered a long time for the moratorium. And I talked with a gentleman that formerly was here. He's up in Traverse City, but he emphasized that 6 months time period for the moratorium, and things can be up in the air. And my concern with that information, which I had expressed before, that it gives CIP or anyone else coming into our community the opportunity just to bypass us. And that's the concern I've had for control, and I've mentioned that many times before from the dais here. we could lose all the good work that's been done by 2 separate moratorium ordinance committees over a year and a half, and that could be lost. And the state of Michigan, which I know some people in our audience in the past have indicated, just let the state decide. Well, as in this discussion and other discussions, if we let the state decide, we could be on the short end of the stick and lose all the things that the work that has been done for us. And so that's another reason I would take whatever time up to the current moratorium, make a decision, and so it can get back to the board and we can look at it. I think you've heard everyone up here has pointed out there's been some good work done in this committee, or in the joint committee and moratorium committee. But I'd hate to lose everything, all that good work and all the input that the board and the previous board has made if we get in the side-eye position of CIP and they just get tired of working or trying to work with us. Thank you.
So we would, by right, have a way, if they were to apply to the state, to have an intervention process, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And with a holistic approach, all the work that we've done with the moratorium committee, the engineering report from the school, a school board stance, all of the record that we've established, all of that would be taken into consideration.
Well, it can be, but the issue is the state law itself. So how far is that MPSC going to go far out from the state law itself? So the state law says it can be located within 300 feet. That's what the experts who advise them on the state law said. You can put battery energy storage 300 feet from a dwelling, 300 feet from a community building. That's it. You know, so how far out are they going to go? You know, even with a holistic approach to allowing things from deviating that far from state law without maybe even getting sued themselves, you know, for their decision. So I'm a little concerned about that. I mean, you've put in 2,000 feet from sensitive areas. There's a big difference between 300-foot setback and 2,000 feet. Like, that's a good, workable provision that's shoving it back 2,000 feet away. You know, if the state's looking at it, are they going to look at 2,000 feet? I mean, I can't speak for them, but, you know, if 300 feet is the state law, how far will they deviate from 300 feet to say the setback should be 600 feet, that's double, or double that again, you know, 1,200 feet? You know, the state has limited, they're just not going to decide whatever they want, however they feel like. They have state laws they have to follow also. And when you consider in light of what the state standards are, I'd be really concerned about letting it go to the state and thinking that somehow it's not going to end up wherever the company wants it.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Thank you. When I was visiting with the chair of the Planning Commission from Coldwater, who's been the chair for, she's 3 terms, when I described to him where they wanted to put the battery storage and how the township's situated with the schools where they're at and the housing, his comment to me was, wow, you have a really unique situation. And I said, you know what, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could take a road trip and come up and see this, because we are really unique, because what they are is out in the middle of a cornfield, or soybeans now. So we are really unique in what we're doing. So I guess the state doesn't bother me so much. So what I hear from the 3 of you trustees, I don't know if I hear that you're not following what we're doing on the Planning Commission and the Moratorium Committee and looking at the ordinance as we're redoing it, because the last time Attorney Thal gave us the revisions, it was really nice because he had on the side of it little blurbs that were in red so we could see the changes, and it made it easier for us to go back through and say, yes, this is what we wanted, or no, that's not what we wanted. And so with that, I just want to say, I hear fear. I hear fear from you. And I don't know if that's correct in saying that, if you're not following what is happening with the industry, or even taking the time to go down to Coldwater or find somewhere else. I mean, we've discussed flying somewhere else to another state to look at some of these, because when you go to Coldwater, like I said, it's out in the middle of nowhere. But you have to keep in mind that it's only 100 megawatts, and we're talking 400. And when I told them 400, they're like, wow, that's a lot. So they opened my eyes to a lot of things, and there was a lot of education there. And anybody from that municipality down there is more than willing to talk to any of us, which I thought was awesome to run into somebody like that. And the same with the company that is doing that down there, who has the battery storage down there. So my thought to you is, you know, take the time, drive down there, make an appointment, anybody, and get yourself an education, get the truth, you know? So, thank you.
Trustee MacGyver, anything further on this matter?
It's been dragged along a long time. We still have some protections if we didn't step into extending the moratorium, is the way I'm understanding it, if I'm listening closely enough. But I think we better get this project moving and get it done, one way or the other. So that's...
Please, no public comment from the audience. Any further board member discussion? We have a motion on the table. We have a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll roll call it out.
Can the motion be read again, please?
To extend the moratorium committee for 6 additional months.
The moratorium. The
Moratorium, sorry.
large-scale renewable battery energy storage moratorium.
I didn't write committee, I just said it.
To what? To
6 months from its deadline.
So all the way into June of next year.
Okay. I mean,
All right.
I understand. Thank you.
Supervisor Martin.
And this would be a Attorney Thaw, just so you could explain it to the board so we all know how we're voting.
So if you vote yes, you're extending the moratorium for 6 months. If you vote no, then the moratorium will cease at the end of the year.
Supervisor Martin, yes.
Trustee Pratt.
No.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, no. Trustee MacGyver.
No.
Motion failed.
3-3.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happens, no.
Moving along to Superintendent Hess.
All right, we're gonna have the budget next, but I wanted to put the planning and zoning service contract from McKenna on there. Current contract that we had last year was a retainer every month. So what I did was I sat down with Kyle from McKenna, and with having Casey aboard, there's still needs for Kyle to attend planning commission meetings for when we get into bigger projects with McKenna's experience. So what I did is redid the contract for the board's review to have him on an hourly as needed. So if the board, the planning commission says we'd like Kyle there, then it would be hourly. That would potentially save us some money. The retainer, I believe, is around $1,800 a month. So that way, if there's nothing on the planning commission that night, but maybe let's say a pole barn or something, or a smaller rezone that we can handle without services, then it would make sense to have just the hourly contract. So.
Trustee Pratt, did you have anything, or do you want to finish this and then you had?
I just had one other comment concerning what we were previous discussion, and if you remember,
I jumped in.
Superintendent can finish his, and then we can go back to that.
Anyone have any questions about what we would be proposing here for the modified planning and zoning service contract with McKenna?
Superintendent has, I don't know if I just didn't see it or what, but Kyle, what classification is he?
He is a senior, so 126. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have said that in there.
Okay, thank you.
He's a senior consultant on that.
Trustee Cherry, any questions? Trustee Amos?
No.
Trustee Pratt?
None.
Trustee McIver? I have no questions either. Be looking for a motion to approve the modified McKenna Planning and Zoning Service Contract.
Make a motion to approve them.
I make a motion that we, the board, extend the McKenna Modified Planning and Zoning Service Contract as stated from Superintendent Hess.
Motion made by Trustee Pratt, looking for a second.
Support.
Supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. Aye, sorry.
Aye.
Moving along to, motion passes. Moving along, opposed? Sorry, guys. Moving along to the general fund budget discussion.
All right, I will ask our finance director to come join us also.
And in between, Trustee Pratt, did you have anything?
Just a quick comment concerning the CIP discussion when they meet with the supervisor. My understanding from looking over some documents that there would be more than one person, including attorneys with that. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, and just from my perspective, I think that we should have more than one person representing us, like Attorney Thal being there too, maybe a superintendent as well as a supervisor, of course.
I mean, that,
Attorney Thal is going to be there.
He's been extended an invitation.
yeah, I have, yeah.
Okay, great. And do you have a date on that as yet?
Tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Hi, may I make one announcement first that I was going to make earlier?
Please do.
Just for those that own dogs, we got a notification today from Kalamazoo County Animal Services that we're no longer going to be able to sell the licenses here at the township. They're going to do them all there or online. So no townships or vets are going to be allowed to sell them anymore. So that's unfortunate. I know people like to do they like to buy their licenses while they're here, paying their taxes, but now they won't be able to do that. So we will put an announcement on the website as well. Okay. So in front of you, you have 3 different versions of the budget that I prepared. They're all labeled in red at the top. Based on all the conversations we had with everyone that came in, there really wasn't much change that happened. There was one thing we removed, which was the adding the driveway to the old football field, which we took out because that was a ballpark estimate. We don't have any quotes for it, so we just took it out. We'll put it in at a later date when we have a real quote. But the difference in the 3 budgets you have in front of you all to do with the weather sirens. So you've got one, I only prepared 3, I could have done several. So one is with all 10, one is with 5, so half, and then one is with no weather sirens. And then if you want to do 2 or 3 or 7, you can kind of fill in the blanks on how much that would be. So if you jump right to the last page, we can go through everything line by line if you want, but I don't think you want to do that. So we'll just jump to the end. So in yellow, I highlighted what the projected fund balance will be. I'm sorry, let me start over. The first column is, the first column on the left is what actually happened last year, so the 2024 activities. So that's the true fund balance at the end of the year. Second column is the budget as it stands now for 25. Third column is what has happened, so all the activity. 25 is what's projected by the end of the year, which is a moving target that's based on what's happened and projections out for another month and a half. And then the final column on the right is the 2026 recommended based on all the conversations that we've had. So now if you take a look at the bottom of the projected column in each sheet, it's highlighted in yellow. That's the projected fund balance at the end of this year. And that will be between 23.4% and 25.2% of the 26 expenditures, depending on how many or none of the weather sirens you put in for next year. So any of those 3 choices, you will be over your 20% target for next year. The problem lies in the following year. If you look at the pink, based on the 3 projections, to hit your 20%, because of the revenues that could come in 27. In order to be above the 20% goal, you see the different expenditure targets you have to hit. With no weather sirens, it's well above, so that's very doable. With half of the weather sirens, your expenditures are going to be around 3.8 million, which is pretty typical. So that's also doable. But if you look at the fund balance on the, make sure I'm on the right one, with all 10, you're still above $500,000, which in my opinion is the danger zone. If your fund balance is below $500,000, regardless of the percentage, that's a bad place to be. You're still going to be over 600,000. But you will only be able to spend $3.1 million in 2027, which is significantly less than our typical budget, which is not to say that it's not doable, but it would involve a lot of cuts. So that's kind of the summary of the three budgets that are in front of you to discuss. Again, you can throw in, if you want to do them 2 or 3 at a time, you can do that over 5 years or so. I understand, from what I remember, those prices may or may not be guaranteed. If we sign a contract for the weather sirens, they would guarantee the prices for, I think I don't want to quote him, but he said, however many we want to put in, we could do it over time. We did discuss doing some borrowing for it, but because of how low the amount is, on less than 300,000 total, from what I understand, I don't think that's fiscally responsible to borrow the money. I think there's enough cash in some configuration to just pay for it and not spend the interest money, as long as they're going to guarantee the prices. So.
And do you have any idea, if we were to get all of them, what kind of cuts that would need to entail?
Not without seeing the budget from that following year, but I mean, obviously, being a service business, the biggest expense we have is payroll. So I mean, that would be the first target, so to speak. So we don't sell a product. You know what I mean? Don't make or sell a product. Service is kind of our business. So I would say that would be number one. But then, I mean, you could cut down on other supplies. You could postpone some projects that may come up. I don't know what projects are on the list for 27. I know 26, really the only 2 capital projects are finishing the Neal Street fence and the plantings between the park and the cemetery. There's really no other huge projects that are scheduled for next year.
Any questions for Brett? Treasurer Bloomfield?
We had discussed when we met with Scott and you about the possibility of going with one trash pickup. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing that worked into one of these. Sure. To see where that would put us at, Brett, to see if how far that would put us to paying for the rest of the sirens. Not very far, but it would help.
Without looking, I think the spring was around 45,000.
It was like 48 and the other one was 60.
Yeah, the fall was a lot more, 60 something.
Yeah, so I was comfortable to say if you wanted to average about 60,000 for one pickup. But I just never know because our dump fees just keep going. But if we comfortably said 60, then we could adjust that, so.
I would probably put it around 75 to be safe.
Yeah.
If I was doing it.
And you're still saving 25, 30,000?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which would give us how many more sirens for the year? It's just a thought that I wouldn't mind seeing you put into motion with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee MacGyver?
I think Treasurer Bloomfield suggested put that on the CIP, or that is already on CIP. Sorry.
Go ahead, ask Brett. Ask Brett.
Okay, as long as it's on the CIP, we could also elect to do that when we saw some extra cash or saw the money we saved from making adjustments in the present or previous budgets. So I'd as soon go with a budget without the weather sirens. It's on the CIP, and we'll look at trying to get that and get the siren business in place when it's fiscally more responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pratt?
I mirror what Trustee MacGyver just said. When we discussed things earlier concerning the sirens, I mentioned that when I lived in Kalamazoo and we had a siren fairly close by, and it did give me comfort. But if I was inside, I couldn't hear anything. And so I'm thinking that there may be some other alternatives that we could use here in our township for those people who need an extra. But with the cost of this product, I don't feel good in saying, yes, let's do a few without input. And I think at one of the previous board meetings, we had discussed perhaps having some kind of, I forget the term, of giving our residents input on this, because this is a substantial amount of money, and I don't want to get anywhere near that 22% that Brett has mentioned. I think that puts us in danger and would be irresponsible for us not to look at that.
Just to clarify, yeah, we had talked about, I am all in favor of putting a millage on the ballot and letting the residents vote. I mean, because it's so substantial. And if the residents want the sirens, I mean, because when the sirens were up, we live right down the road. We couldn't hear them in our house either, at all. So, you know, but that's my own personal opinion, is let them vote on it, the millage for it.
As far as, didn't we have a motion passed to insert that?
We did.
Can you explain that?
Boy, I just remember making sure that it got put in the budget for this year was the motion. I don't remember the exact words to it.
Brett, are you familiar with that? What was our motion to include the cost allocation of the weather sirens in the CIP for the 2026 budget?
I remember it being in the capital improvement plan, which it is, but then you have to decide which of those projects actually get inserted in the budget. I think that's how it works. Okay. And to speak to you, I think you, Trustee Pratt, what you mentioned is the community survey, because we can't do a ballot proposal for a survey. We just have to send out a survey. Yeah. And then if I can answer Trustee Cherry, I don't know that, I mean, $297,000 is a lot of money, but I don't think it's enough for a millage. Like it would be a small amount that you're asking for, yeah. But the township already has the ability to go up to 5 mills. If the community survey said that you wanted it, you could raise the millage to cover it.
Okay.
And that, I think that would be a better, because you're gonna, just asking for money, I think is a tougher way to go, but actually putting a survey out there explaining what you want to do might be a better approach, if that's what you're gonna do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, sorry, go ahead.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I'll go next.
It kind of amazes me that we have board members who want a battery facility, but they don't want sirens. And these sirens have the ability to say, alert, we have a battery facility on fire, or whatever the case may be, or tornado in your area. I can't understand where your thinking is going for your safety of your residents. It just really boggles my mind. Thank you.
Let me.
Brett, a question would be,
sure.
with the budget, with the 10 weather sirens, that you know, rough 20% number, it puts you at 23%. And then then the pink there, would there be a percentage number that we would be at then to hit the 20? Like, what would that do? Is there a percentage number that you have for us that would?
I don't. I kind of had to work in reverse. So if you wanted to be 20% of your expenditures or more, you would only be able to spend $3.1 million in that year. And typically we're running 3.7, 3.5, $4 million, somewhere in that range. So it'd be a $500,000 cut in spending, $600,000 probably.
To just get to the 20% mark?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to clarify, that's not a legal requirement. That's a board requirement in their policy for it to be at 20%. The bigger the municipality, the smaller that number needs to be. So a big city maybe only needs 10 or 12%, and a small township maybe needs 200%, just because emergencies are going to affect them differently, so. And I'll just say, as far as my recommendation goes, I think if you were to do this, if you did half of them at once or less, you could, that would be palatable to the budget, or to, to the fund balance, if that's the way you wanted to go. I'm not advocating either way, I'm just saying, if you did half one year, half the next year, or maybe 2 or 3, that would put you in a better position than doing all 10 at once.
And it would be palatable perhaps to do 1 year roll out 5 and then the next year roll out another 5?
Yeah, I think the budget could support that, and your fund balance would be lower than you want it to be, but it wouldn't be dangerous, let's put it that way.
And maybe that would help us with a purchase order to lock in pricing and...
Yeah, I think that if you're going to do it, that would be step one, is to make sure that the pricing can be locked in and you could phase it in. It sounded like the gentleman that was here was agreeable to that, but that's been a couple months, so.
Trustee Amos?
We keep talking about you can't hear these sirens when you're inside. Well, these sirens, in my opinion, is really not for the people who are inside, but for the people who are outside. I mean, is that not correct?
That's correct, but if you know a tornado's coming, why would you be outside?
Well, because maybe you didn't see it.
We do.
No, you know the storm's coming. You're not going to stand out in the middle of a thunder and lightning rainstorm knowing there's a potential tornado, are you?
For those who are unhoused, perhaps.
Perhaps. Slim chance, but perhaps.
They don't have anywhere to go. But the siren could maybe prompt them to go somewhere, but...
Under a tree.
They're going to be outside. Trustee Pratt?
Just a couple of things on this. I think the insert for a few meetings ago, I don't believe Brett was here. I believe he was out of town at a conference. And a motion was made to insert this into this year's budget, I believe. And that motion passed. I did not vote for it because I wanted to see figures from Brett before making any decision on this, because regardless, wherever you go, it's a lot of money. And concerning Treasurer Bloomfield, your comment concerning this versus BESS, totally different things. But I want to mention that the tornadoes that have hit certain areas around Kalamazoo, many of the people that were affected did not hear any siren, and I think on at least one occasion, the sirens didn't go off. The tornado was here and gone, and nothing was there to alert anyone. So, and this has happened around the country. So, again, I'm all for protecting our township residents. I'm just not sure that this is going to be the best worth and value to do so. And as Trustee Sherry had mentioned too, in inclement weather, people who have a means to get out of that have done so. And I think through our some of the programs in our township in the past, that weather radios have been provided for people, and I think that's another worthwhile option, and certainly less expensive than what we're looking at here. But thank you for the time.
Thank you. Trustee McIver, do you have anything for us?
No, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield, anything further?
It kind of bothers me when I sit here and I hear talk of it's about the money, how much we spend to keep our residents safe, when in actuality, it's the residents' money. And they're asking for sirens. And as a board, we're sitting here still debating on what our residents want. So yes, I am for the sirens.
I was curious about if we have the money and it's available, what else would we do with it? And I'm sure we could put driveways in or do other projects and do other things. And for taken an oath of office for the health, safety, and welfare for the community, and if the community is asking for sirens, I would totally be in favor of the implementation of 5 sirens over annually for 2 years. Then we would have a complete package of sirens.
Can I intervene? Tonight, we're really not voting on this. We're just putting the budget together to have it for the public hearing, which would be December 1st. So that would be the public hearing for citizen comments. Anybody in the public can comment on it. And then the 15th would be the adoption. So tonight is really not a vote. I think it's just kind of a want that for Brett and I to put it in. Am I more correct on that, Rob? I'm trying to make it so, because this really isn't a vote, or is it a vote to what to put in?
Well, I think the board can direct what they want to see in the budget.
Okay.
It's a proposed budget.
Okay.
Board members could change their mind after the budget.
So that's my question is, should they vote on this, or should they just make the recommendation, we put it in and go to?
I think they have to direct, the board should direct what.
Okay.
So for the issue of sirens, let's hash this out right now, if we could.
Sure, I have something also from the DDA to speak on, but if you want to take up the weather sirens first, I can speak that later.
Let's just cover the topic, and then we can chip away at the bit. So, I make a, do I need to make a motion then, essentially? Or do we just want to get?
Yeah, and your motion's about a draft budget. So, you know, if you want to move to include it into the draft budget, then that was what will be noticed for budget hearing. And then, you know, the board will make a final decision on the budget. It sounds like December 15.
Okay. I make a motion for the draft budget for 2026 to implement the purchase of 5 weather sirens. And then additionally in 2027, an additional 5 weather sirens from the company that we chose during the vote for the CIP funds.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Trustee Cherry, no. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee MacGyver?
No. No.
Thank you, Brett. We're ready for the next one.
Yep, so there's additional request that's not reflected in the budget, but I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you could consider it tonight. The DDA is looking for $40,000 for a contribution from the township, of $40,000 for beautification projects within the DDA, and an additional $50,000 for economic development within the DDA. And I'm sorry, I didn't put it in there, but you can kind of insert the 40 or the 50 or both and see how it would affect the fund balance.
Total of 90,000.
Correct, yeah.
For 2026.
Correct, separate request, but a total of 90.
Any questions for Brett? Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, I don't have any.
Trustee Pratt?
No questions at this time.
No thanks. Trustee Amos?
Good.
Trustee Cherry?
90,000. No. No questions.
I make a motion to deny the request for the DDA for the $90,000.
Is that a roll call?
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote, please.
Working on it. Trustee MacGyver?
No.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Hold on a second.
Well, wait a minute. We better ask. Let's.
Did I do that wrong?
No, you're fine. You're
We
fine.
just would like to have Attorney Thal, so
Yeah, we need
all
to
know.
start over.
Yeah, so just so everybody's clear on what the motion is. The motion is to deny the request to put in the proposed budget the amount requested by the Downtown Development Authority. So if you vote yes, you're saying don't put it into the proposed budget. If you vote no, you're saying, well, if you vote yes, you don't want it put into the proposed budget.
Say that one more time.
So the motion is to not put the DDA's request into the proposed budget. So if you vote yes, you're saying, don't put it in the budget. If you're saying no, then you're saying, put it in the budget.
Thank you, Attorney Thaw. Roll call?
Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Trustee MacGyver,
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield,
Yes.
okay. Trustee Pratt,
No.
Supervisor Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes, I think.
Motion passes of a proposed recommendation.
All right.
Thank you, Brett.
So now,
Hold on, I have one thing, because you brought up the deduction of rubbish, so I
Okay.
want to see if the board is okay with that.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield, do you want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we move to do one rubbish pickup a year for the Charter Township of Comstock for the 2026 year.
Support.
Motion made by Treasurer Bloomfield, supported by Trustee Amos. Roll call vote. And this would be to accept one rubbish cleanup.
One rubbish
So a vote yes would,
Be for one rubbish cleanup.
cleanup
That was easy.
per year.
Is there any discussion on this?
any board discussion, any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. If we could get some input on what the benefit would be for this motion from Treasurer Bloomfield.
Treasurer Bloom, did you hear him?
I'm waiting to ask you for permission, not him, to speak. I look to you, not him.
Yep.
Okay, so, when I was on the board as a trustee for 8 years, we always had one, and Brett was on the board with me back then, and one was sufficient. What I would like to see, and we had talked about this in our meeting with Brett and Scott, was to move it to later in the year so people have more time and it's not so cold while they're out there in the early spring trying to get in their garage or their basement to bring things out. I would like to move it to I think we talked about right before the holiday in May or maybe first part of June. And then since we are doing this by weight, I don't know how, but this would be something that would have to be worked out, where we did a section of the township at one time and then moved to the next section. And if we had signs at the end of the quadrants so that the residents knew when their time was, so we don't have mattresses and couches sitting out there getting wet. I was hoping then we could save some more money with weight that way as well, which would hopefully save us $25,000, $30,000 a year there. So thank you.
yeah, another issue, or not an issue, another benefit we had back then was the trucks that Waste Management was using were easier to maneuver and everything cost less. So it was $17,000, $20,000 a pickup, and we're double and triple that now, so.
Yeah.
Trustee MacGyver?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would still like to be able to let the trash pickers go through it because that does save us a lot of money. It does.
And hope for no rain. Because
Yeah, and hope for no rain. Thank you.
Trustee MacGyver?
From what I've seen, one trash pickup would be acceptable policy, I think.
I agree. Trustee Pratt?
No questions.
Trustee Amos?
Yeah, I think one pickup would do, and during the summertime, it rains less, so less water, less cost.
Trustee Cherry?
No, sir, nothing at this time.
June would be a good time, I think. So, roll call vote, or, so did you make a motion yet? You
Yeah.
made a motion, we went into discussion.
And it was supported.
Supported by Trustee Amos. Roll call.
I have a newfound respect for Pro-Chan, let me tell you. Okay, Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Trustee Cherry, yes. Trustee MacGyver.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, so those were the three big issues. Now, if there's anything else in the budget that you saw that you have questions about or issues with, you can tell us now, or you can come back into the office again. But based on the vote, I guess if you want, unless you want to discuss it again in the public hearing, I'll just go with the no weather sirens. Post that for the public hearing. If that's what I'm hearing, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. So they were giving you direction regarding the proposed budget.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
And we tied, so nothing happened. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So does it fall back to the last motion? The previous motion?
I don't even know what the last motion was. So they need to look at that last motion.
The previous one was in the William, Deputy Treasurer Knight, do you remember when that last motion was made to put it into the budget, or does anybody?
It was 2 or 3 meetings ago.
Look at that, we can go back, and if it's in there, then we'll put it in.
It was to put in for the draft budget, and I think we got all three. I mean, that's why there's 3 different budgets.
Right, and the vote was a 4-3 vote to do it, to put it in.
Right, to put it in the draft budget.
Correct. I'm not arguing with you, Cherry. I'm just saying yes. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. I'm confused.
I'm sorry. But no, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Great.
Is that it for me? You have any more questions? Oh, DDA,
Sorry. I just wanted to make a request. You moved pretty quickly through the motion on the CIP request. I don't think you had full detail on our preliminary budget and an explanation of why we're asking for $90,000 from the capital improvement program. I want to give that to you, but maybe it's if we can meet 2-on-1 or whatever over the next week or two, I can provide you a lot of detail. Our DDA board approved our preliminary budget unanimously, and they approved our capital improvement request. That is a wish list item that is just asking for you to earmark if the funds are available, and if we have projects, we want to be able to come back to you and see if you'll support that, if funds are available. So I don't think you had full information on our budget. I'm happy to put it in writing. I'm happy to meet one-on-one with you, or however you like to do it, or you can ask questions when it comes back for actual final action.
Any questions?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet, okay. But feel free to contact me if you.
Barry, you have any questions?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Trustee Pratt?
None.
Trustee Amos?
No.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, ready? Ready for me for the next one?
Yes,
okay. So the next one is, I think most of you know that we use John Hancock for our investment for our retirement with the board, the 401A and the 457. That was administered through Burnham & Flowers, which their subsidiary was Harbor Investments. Burnham & Flowers got purchased by Acrisure in the past year. And so I received a letter from Harbor Investments that I put into the packet. And it basically says that they've ended their contractual relationship with the Burnham & Flowers Financial. And they had administered our John Hancock through Acrisure, but then Acrisure decided that apparently they just don't do this type of securities anymore. They just do, I think, liability insurance, health insurance, different things like that. So I received this letter. It was kind of interesting because it said, as a result, your account is now designated as a house account at Harbor Investments, which is still at Harbor Investments, but then they were trying to designate a Dillon Lock and Note representative affiliate with another broker dealer to service this account. and he will assist you. And they left their phone number. So I kind of waited for, a few weeks and never got a call. So I called this gentleman, and he was basically out of Missouri. Kind of shocked me that all of a sudden our account that we get service from our representative Todd Carlos over the past, well, since I've been here, maybe since Sandy's been here, I think it's been quite a long time. So I was a little confused. I kind of just said, okay. And then I reached out and called Todd Carlos. And at that point, Mr. Carlos said, well, I'm no longer working with Acrisure. I'm not allowed to reach out to anybody. And I said, well, you didn't. I reached out to you because I was concerned about, what our John Hancock investments were. So I invited Todd to come in, and he explained that he is actually spinning off to Carlos Financials. And it would still be through Harbor Investments, which is kind of the mothership. If you know securities, he has to have a kind of a big broker to do this. And John Hancock, and nothing would change. So what I'm actually in a nutshell asking is if the board would continue to use Todd as our representative through his new company, Carlos Financials. Nothing would change. Harbor Investments are still going to be Todd. Actually, it was interesting, the conversation, as Todd said, I still have the account. His name's all over our account, and I was curious of why Acrisure was able to still process our, for new employees or employees that left to transfer their securities out. So he said, well, I still have the account, and if you guys are willing, I would love to keep you as the representative. And as you can see, the client acknowledgement of advisory relationship spells out, and I think this is just for protection for both, that he did not reach out to solicit us. I actually reached out, and I would admit, to ask him what was going on. And he told me, and he says, if the board would agree to keep him as the financial advisor, we can move forward by signing this acknowledgement. And nothing would change in our investments.
Any questions for Superintendent Hess?
It's kind of a long, drawn-out process, but sorry.
Be looking for a motion?
Yeah, motion to have me sign the acknowledgement to move forward with Carlos and Financials. And it would still be under the Harbor Investment Group, so.
Okay, excuse me, I make a motion that we allow Superintendent Hess to sign the acknowledgement letter for the Todd Carlos Financial Group.
Support.
Motion made by Trustee Pratt, supported by Trustee Cherry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, just a quick update on some things going on. I will be bringing, every year, the sheriff's contract is renewed. This year it has a little caveat in there, and I will send that out, pretty good time frame, separate emails. It has their new contract. It's just a yearly contract, but they are looking towards long-term, if we do a 4-year contract, to add the police, the cruisers, the automobiles in there. I've been working with some other townships looking at that contract, but I would like to individually contact each of you and explain this, and then that way, when we bring it to the board meeting, next meeting, you would have a lot of more information on that. The Road Commission has a meeting tomorrow. They are discussing the extra funding that they're getting from the state of Michigan, so I'm gonna try to join that to see if they have figures yet. They were awarded, I believe it's $9 million. And what they want to do is, they got a formula, I guess, they're gonna put it out. I think they're actually gonna talk to it at the supervisors meeting on Wednesday also, to see how much more money that the township would get to improve their roads. And that would be on secondary roads, so not just the primary roads. And then also, we finally have got a meeting with the Casper traffic calming. Casper Street had a speed issue. We did a lot of engineering and research on that. That meeting is going to be held here December 10th from 4 to 6. And that will be giving those residents options on anywhere from speed bumps to any type of traffic calming to reduce that. And then the cost would be presented at that point, and this would be shared between the residents from Kalamazoo Township and Comstock Township. So I'm sure they may come in with a want list from us if we, if they want us to pay for it, but we'll wait till we see what those figures come out. There is going to be a construction over here by the library on Shirley and Proctor. They're doing a sewer repair, and that's going to go right down Shirley Street and then down Proctor and then to the river where there's a siphon tube. So if anybody needs to visit the library or the school administration, they need to take, what is the other road? Help me out. By the post office. Brookview, there you go. It was on tip and tongue. Thank you. We did lose one of our employees, but to save some costs, we just hired a part-time front desk person just to handle elections and any front desk services that we needed. And then I have been working on our handbook policy, just updating all the new laws and all that, and I should have that presented to the board in 1st of January. I think that's it.
Any questions for Superintendent Hess? Treasurer Bloomfield?
Scott, can you mention who you hired?
Oh, I'm sorry, Monica Markle, M-A-R-K-I-L-L-E. She came from some good experience. She used to be the Ross Township Clerk for 2 terms, but that's been, I think, back in maybe 17 and before. Did you deal with Ross? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a few years.
Yeah, it's been quite a few. I think two supervisors prior, so that helps us because of the election piece to it, so.
Trustee MacGyver, anything?
No, I'm sorry. Did I fall asleep there or something?
It's all good. Trustee Pratt?
None for me.
Trustee Amos?
I'm good, thanks.
And Trustee Chair? Thank you, Scott. Moving along to reports. We have cash summary by fund, October 2025. Cash summary by bank account, October 2025. October 2025 fire report. October 2025 Fire Department Public Relations report. October 2025 CABA reports. October 2025 Sheriff's report. October 2025 Bacum, Thal, Sieber, Kaufman, and Coaches PC invoice. Sunlight Award to the clerk. Bills paid October 23rd, 2025 through November 13th, 2025. For informational future action items, we have FOIA requests. Moving along to public comment. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with a supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Their contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Tammy Keeler. I have it, and if I have to print it out, I will. There has to be an evacuation plan. 3 years prior to them putting that in here. There has to be an evacuation plan. I have it right here in front of my face. There has to be that plan. Is the fire department ready to get all of us out of danger? Are they ready to give us air masks?
Please direct your comment to the board.
I'm sorry. Are they ready to give us air masks? Every resident has to have one on hand. Are they ready to give us the suits that you got to wear in order not to get that crap in your skin? Are you guys prepared for this? You are not at all prepared for this. I have it in black and white from the state of Michigan. 3 years prior to them putting it in here. And it does not matter what the last board had to say about this. This is not the last board. This is a new board that we elected in here. And she should not have no say because she's been coercing with the battery company. So come on, people. He gave Sherwood advice. He took his advice the other day not to say anything about the battery plant. He recused himself from it. For the fact there can be a lawsuit. And, you know, this is just ridiculous. Then you guys don't want sirens? I could hear that siren from down here in the park in Comstock, clear up on JK on a hill. Don't tell me you couldn't hear it from your house, because I could. I've lived here for 65 years. There's never one time when I was younger I missed that siren. I could hear it all the way through my house. So don't tell us that it will not go into your home, and it will. Not unless you guys are so insulated or something, you know, I don't know what you are. But anyway, those sirens do good. It would have done good that last time that we had that tornado go through. Don't tell me that wasn't no tornado. We needed those sirens. You got some guy upstairs in his house, that last one that went through, in his house. If he hadn't been in that bathroom, his wife would be dead right now. But you guys don't stop thinking about that. Let's put a firebomb there and not have no security over it or anything else. And then you're putting your firemen in danger also. It doesn't matter how big it is, your department. You have to have 3 years evacuation plan. Everybody has to have one in their home. They also have to have air mask because that stuff is corrosive and stuff. It will kill you. It's like, and then the sound of it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
David Cameron, 1078 Verlaine Street. I'll talk about transparency. And again, not with a bunch of misleading, inaccurate information. I believe that this person that just spoke to me prior.
Please let him have the podium.
Thank you. Doesn't have the accurate results. Kalamazoo County Emergency Management, our fire departments are well up on what needs to be done for our citizens. They are very well trained. Moving on. Conflict of interest. Talk about transparency. Well, the Clerk Hill report that the question was whether to waive client privilege or not. Our treasurer voted on that, and if it's what I think it was from, she should not have voted. Huge conflict of interest, because she was censured because of that report. I don't think that's inaccurate. Moving on. You said, it was mentioned that we have people who want a BESS system, but not sirens. Well, two different subjects. But if you had the BESS system, which bring in approximately $1 million a year, according to your megawatt payment structure, you would have plenty of money for your sirens. Although I still think that they're not a valid technique for this day and age. Anyway, the BESS system, the information that keeps coming forward is about lithium-ion batteries, not lithium-iron batteries. Dr. Hatfield said, well, they can still catch on fire but 100 degrees hotter. They are unlikely to catch fire. They are not prone to thermal runaway. And they are housed individually, unlike the fires that everybody keeps talking about out in LA, where a bunch of lithium-ion batteries were put in a structure that was not designed for them in the first place, and that was just against code. It was a bad thing right from the beginning. As far as the trash pickup being reduced to just one a year to save money, I don't disagree with that. But if you put it up against whether to have the sirens or 2 trash pickups, I'm sure the majority of Comstock residents would rather have their trash picked up than spending $300,000 on sirens that only will reach a few people. The unhoused, yeah, they'll hear it. Most of them have cell phones. Almost all of them do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please remember to let the public speaker be the only one speaking.
Thank you.
Hello again. So where do I start? First, the Clark Hill report, as I presumed, was a political hit job. You hold on to it for 7 months to release it 3 days before she can be recalled. Mind you, any of you can be recalled Thursday. Just so everybody knows that. Tornado sirens. We want safety in our township, is what I keep hearing from you guys, but we had 2 tornadoes in the past 2 years that went on the edge of our town that hurt a lot of our families, and it seems like none of you care right now. As far as the one pickup, I agree, we don't need to. It was a lot of extra weight, and I've noticed that people do get trash dumped in their property that isn't theirs, so it probably adds to our amounts. As far as the TIF budget for the DDA, or the CIP budget for the DDA, that board's as corrupt as all get out and a waste of all time, so I'm glad you guys denied that one. And as far as misinformation and disinformation, we have the last speaker gave out a lot of it. He should probably follow his own word of mouth and not spread disinformation. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Karen Height. I'd like to finish reading my complaint, seeing as how evidently the board is not going to read it, even though it was listed on there. I have no problem with you putting my name on there, that I wrote a complaint about Superintendent Hess, about Nicole Beauchamp, clerk. I don't have a problem with you putting my name out there, because it was a concern of mine. And you're not following your due diligence to your constituents and let us know about the complaints that people have about what's going on. So given the facts, I want a comprehensive and independent review by the Township Board and the attorney of all personal and financial relationships within the fire department involving related individuals. A written legal opinion from the Township Council addressing compliance with MCL 15.342, PA 317 of 1968, and any relevant township personnel provisions. The immediate development and adoption of a written nepotism and conflict of interest policy consistent with state laws and the precedent set by Winrick versus City of Warren. Temporary recusal or reassignment of supervisory and financial duties involving family members until this review is complete. If this complaint is not formally acknowledged in writing within 14 days, which I haven't gotten a reply in 14 days, or acted upon by the Township Board within 30 days, you got 2 more days, I will submit my complaint to the Michigan Attorney General's Public Integrity Unit, the Department of Treasury's Local Government Services Division, and the State Fire Marshal's Office for independent review. These agencies hold oversight authority regarding misuse of public funds. There are public funds because we pay them. Ethical conflicts and failures in administrative accountability. The residents of this township have entrusted their leaders to protect the public interest. Ethical standards, transparency, and fair employment practices are not optional. They are the foundation of lawful governance. The appearance of impropriety in this case is undeniable, and continued inaction will only compound the loss of public confidence in this administration. I understand that my complaint was not the only one. We as citizens deserve to know what the complaints are. To hide behind the fact that you don't have to say who did it or did. Okay, so you got a complaint about somebody. That's not one of you writing it, it's one of your constituents writing it. If that person doesn't want their name put out there, they could let you know. Go ahead and read my complaint, just don't attach it to me because of retaliation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jeannie Kissinger, 322 Lawndale. Okay, for those of you that maybe weren't here, there used to be a siren right over that way. When I was little, you could hear that siren all through Comstock. You knew when it was noontime because that siren went off. And I lived at the Point then. And now I live on Lawndale, which is farther out. I need protection. Those tornadoes both were in my backyard. Did I know about it? No. Not till 25 minutes later. Trees were down. The gentleman on the next street, or 2 streets over on Morrow, his mother's house flattened on top of him. They had to dig him out. And I'm sure Mr. Beauchamp has got information on that tornado. We did not know about that tornado. We didn't know it was coming. It's nighttime. You don't know diddle at nighttime with those things. And the other thing is I feel like you really are not listening to us. We do not want that BESS plant. Yeah, I live less than a mile from it. That's not the only reason I don't want it. Comstock doesn't need that ugly looking thing sitting up on a hill. And we've got to look at it, and we've got to hear it, and it's going to damage, and this comes from a Schoolcraft veterinarian clinic. The decibels that it makes will make our dogs deaf within 5 years. You guys even thought about the animals? I do, because I pay for them every year to get shots, licensed, and I take care of them to the top 10 of what I can take care of. But between me and my animals, they are my main, and my husband, they are my main concern. He comes last sometimes. But anyways, you guys have got to stop this. What is your precedence over the whole community, except maybe 2 or 3 or 4? We don't want this plant, but we need those sirens. I don't want to have to go through this again when my phone decides to go off 25 minutes later and it's already in Augusta. Please understand, I'm talking with my heart. We need those sirens. And those of you that are seeing dollar signs because of this stupid plant, you're going to be in trouble. I guarantee it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shirley Amos, 1172 Marybrook Street. I cannot believe this community is being completely raked over the coals by some trustees who want to end the moratorium and push this battery facility forward because they're tired of talking about it. When there's new evidence, you could go down to Coldwater, look at that battery facility, see how it's being maintained, see what benefits, even though we don't want it, what are the benefits for Comstock? And then, you know this is going to change our community forever. We don't want this. But as for the sirens, we could hear them at our house off of East Main just fine, in the house and outside. I think it's shameful what's going on here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jonica Camburn. According to Robert's Rules of Order, a conflict of interest exists when a member has a direct, personal, or financial interest in a matter before the meeting that is not shared by other members. For a member with a conflict, they must disclose the conflict to the presiding officer before debate begins, abstain from voting, and refrain from discussion on the matter. The meeting minutes should vote that the members should note that the member recused themselves and the reason why. I obviously have to defer to our legal counsel, but it appears that Treasurer Bloomfield should not have voted on whether to waive attorney-client privilege on the Clark Hill report because she has a personal interest in that.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further citizen comment this evening?
Just a quick thing. Pam York, East Main. The sirens, my mom is 89, and she lives in Portage, and the tornado came through, and she doesn't carry a cell phone. It's not her. It wasn't raining. She was outside in her yard wandering around because she's old, and she heard the sirens. And she knows that those sirens mean you get inside. And she did. And she went into her basement. And then her house got blown up with the tornado. Lost her garage. I don't know why you wouldn't hear them, and maybe they're not placed in the places where you live, or maybe you have more installation, I don't know, but they do make a difference, and they make a difference to people that aren't necessarily technologically savvy, or don't have their TV on, or don't, they're just regular people. I'm out in my woods every day. I'm not carrying a cell phone around. I'm doing my thing. So that's, you took your vote. I took names. There is also the BESS station, and I appreciate everybody working through all of this with us so we could understand all the things that you're taking into consideration. I am furious with the state of Michigan for the amount of limits that they've put on us to fight against something like this in our community. And that will also be people that I will be talking to. This is not right, and we all know it's not right. And I don't know why there are people that still believe that this is an important part that we should get into our community. If there is something that's beneficial, I didn't understand that we get paid by megawatt, but that doesn't change the fact that it's going to destroy people's homes and their livelihoods if they work in that area. I don't know how it got to this point. I don't know. I wasn't here during that discussion, and I wish I had been paying more attention. But it's not. It should have never gotten this far, and the state should have never put us in this position. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. I really appreciate it. I can see how much everyone does here.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm kind of confused right now because you couldn't extend the moratorium due to the fear that the state would get involved under PA 233, which I personally don't think we should ever act out of fear. I think we should look at the situation as it is, but I think we should always stand up for what's right. And sometimes a battle may not be won, but it doesn't mean it's not worth fighting if it's the right thing to do. Where my confusion comes in is when the township had the opportunity to get involved with a lawsuit against PA 233, you didn't. And so if it's this big scary thing that takes control away from the community, why wouldn't you push back against it when the opportunity is there? I don't know. That's just something that confused me. Separately, something I live for is plan for the worst, hope for the best. I served 6 years in the Michigan Army National Guard. I was a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear specialist. It sounds really fancy. I'm not pretending I'm an expert, but I learned a little bit about how to protect myself from chemicals. And what I learned makes me not want to live near a battery center. And I just think that if this is going to be in your community, you need to look at what's the worst case scenario. Even if there's a 1% chance of something happening, even if there's a 0.01% chance happening, knowing what can happen is how you prepare yourself. We put our gas masks on. I believe it was 7 seconds. You had to have your gas mask on in 5 or 7 seconds. And you had to have your whole J-list suit on in however many minutes. And we were trained over and over again until we could do that. I never encountered that. I never responded to something like that. I stayed back here at home and served units in Michigan and never deployed, but we trained for that. So if I was ever in that situation, not only could I do it, but I could help those around me who didn't know what to do. And so even if this is a different type of lithium battery, I'm not familiar with all that. I'm not pretending to. What I'm speaking to is plan for the worst and hope for the best. When I get in my car, I have to have car insurance because if I hit another car and it's my fault, their car needs to get fixed. Your community needs assurances. So if something were to happen, how are people going to be taken care of? So that's all I have to say. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Never attended one of these before, and I am so glad I did. I have never witnessed people that have been voted in by a community that don't care what the community wants. I do see in 3 days, 3 of you for sure are going to be up for recall. Because if you can't vote for us and stand beside us, then we don't want you. I'm sorry. You have only rolled your eyes continuously all day long. You have not even looked out in the crowd to see what we've wanted or what our, okay, I will stop. I will redirect that. It's very discerning that you don't care. That you're not listening to what the people want. We want sirens. We could hear the sirens. I've lived here for 64 years. I could hear those sirens everywhere. when I realized we didn't have it is when Pavilion got hit. Because I'm standing out on East H Avenue at my friend's house on her back deck going, well, it didn't affect us because I didn't hear no sirens. That was the first I found out we didn't have sirens because I didn't hear them. So no, we want sirens, and you were all for putting it up for a vote for the voters, but then yet you won't put it on there to even put it in the budget to discuss when it was already voted to put it in the budget to discuss. And as far as this other plant with the humming that these kids are gonna have to listen to, the old people, everybody, our water system, I mean, are you not thinking long-term? Who's gonna wanna build here? Who's gonna wanna come here to live with a battery plant? And then they're just gonna what? Wanna put in another thing out on Pavilion, another plant to make it, you know, they're just gonna build it bigger. And why do we need 40 in a community when they're only putting 10 out in a field? I think we needed the additional 6 months for you guys to continue to work it out because you hid it from us for so long. And you're just finding out about things now. And I am Sean Crummell, and I live on Dawes Street.
Thank you.
Get her started. Yeah.
I won't talk long. I only got 3 minutes anyway, so that's good. I know everybody's tired, and we've been here a long time, and, you know, I appreciate you guys all being here. I know this is tough. This is tough, even me, for getting up here. Like I said the last time that I came here, I don't like coming here. I would rather be with my family right now. I just put my kids to bed. And that's where I would rather be. And I can understand and appreciate how hard it is for you guys to make decisions and that you guys put a lot of effort in becoming educated. And that I would continue to ask the same thing, that you put aside any preconceived biases and keep your minds open and being willing to work with each other, because you can do it. We can see that even in the discussions that we have here, that we're able to have our minds changed. And that's a good thing. We should have our minds changed. As long as the information is presented to us, and maybe we have a preconceived bias that, you know what, I'm already gonna think this way, but then keep an open mind that somebody might provide you some additional information that might put you over the edge and choose something different. And so, at the end of the day, you guys have a lot of responsibility for the people here, and that can be really draining. Like I said, it's draining just being up here and listening to everybody say, and I understand we all say the same things, but that you have to understand and have empathy that people are afraid. People are scared. And when people say things that they don't like being felt like they're being listened to, maybe the response is, how can we change that? How can we change the way that we approach something, and so that we do feel like people are being listened to? Because we hear everybody say the same thing over and over again. That's not a surprise. But how do we change that? And is it us having more discussions like this, or is it more special meetings? Obviously, I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. But if we keep hearing the same thing over and we keep just doing whatever it is that we want to do and voting the same ways and doing the same things, then we're only going to keep putting ourselves in the same position over and over and over again. And I don't think that's conducive to leading Comstock to where everybody wants it to be. It's evident that you guys and everybody in the community wants the best. We only have a slight disagreement on how we get there. And I think that it is that if we work together...
Please let him speak.
If we can work together, I think that we can get there. We might have some disagreements on some areas, but at the end of the day, we all want what's best for each other. And I went blank there. This is unfortunate. At least I got a timer. Dang it. I was on a roll. Oh, man. Anyways, I love you guys. God bless you all. You know, it's already 9:30, so you guys have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Any further citizen comment this evening? Moving along to members' comments. Trustee Cherry?
Absolutely. I will not recuse myself from voting for the BESS one way or another, because it's a blatant lie that I have any interest in them, because I've heard all about Facebook and, you know, she's invested. Nope, that's a blatant lie being put out there, that rhetoric. So I have no conflict of interest. I have not spoken to anyone from CIP except in a public forum. So that needs to end. And yes, we do need to try to get along and work together. And yes, we all are taking the information in as it comes in and making our own decisions. And no, we don't always have to agree. But we do need to understand that this is a collective unit. This is not personal businesses that we're running. We need to do this together. So I get that. And again, I have a whole newfound respect for Clerk Beauchamp. And I'd like to thank the fire department. I was reading through some of your stats, so very impressive. Thank you guys for what you do. So, and thank you for your service. There was a young lady. Thank you for your service. So.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee Amos?
I'm good, thanks.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes, just a couple of things here. Just want to point. Thank you. Just wanted to point out, during the last few sessions, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of good discussion, and some criticism for board members, and that comes with the territory that we're all here. And that was explained to me decades ago. And there's been allegations put out here and there. And again, on information, when people hear it, from my background, people hear it and they don't know what to believe. We're in the same boat out here, and we do a lot of research in making these decisions. In my past, I know we had some veterans in the audience. We have one veteran in the audience who's a deputy treasurer. We have 2 veterans up here, counting myself, and another person who's married to a veteran. So we do have concerns, and we do look and think about veterans in our communities. Somebody had commented a meeting or 2 ago that we should have more concern, and that is there. And we're hoping that this committee that will deal with veterans and the unhoused in our community, that we can make some progress there. I would just like to just point out that through my background in the military, I served 4 years active and 2 years inactive in the U.S. Air Force. And many of my relatives had done the same. My father and uncles fought in World War II. So we have a lot of respect for the country and a lot of things, the meetings that, the benefits that have been brought to us because we live here. Something that you may or may not know, when I grew up, I was dirt poor, and I worked very hard to get where I got. The Air Force was one of the instruments in that. And I've lived by a code of honor that I was taught in the Air Force, along with how my upbringing was. So I just want to clarify, and that has suited me well through the state of Michigan for nearly 30 years of service and doing a lot of community work in Kalamazoo and Berrien County, and retiring and having a good life and trying to extend some of those benefits that I received to my family and others, friends, relatives. And so I do respect what this country has provided for me and many, many other people. And for the position that we have as trustees up here, there are some hard decisions. And a lot goes on that is never shown to the community. That issues that we have to deal with. But as a trustee, and I take that position very close to my heart and my background, But if an issue comes up, we as trustees are supposed to deal with it, address it, investigate it, and then report it. And that's what I think that people up here have done, regardless of the impression that some people may give the community. And I think that's what we will continue to do. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Trustee McIver?
I would certainly like to thank the residents for showing up tonight and the people that stepped up and spoke. We do listen. It is a difficult job, but like Trustee Pratt says, we want to do the best we can, and we're going to make mistakes, and hopefully not many, but I appreciate your staying tonight and coming. Thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I'm going to read the motion that was made for the HR attorney. Clerk Beauchamp made a motion to accept the recommendation of the township attorney regarding hiring an outside third-party legal counsel and to provide a recommendation and to work with the subcommittee consisting of Jerry Amos and Trustee McIver. That motion passed unanimously. I supported that motion. A lot of this was done in closed session, so I can't talk about it. But I want you to know that when that attorney stood before this board, I was not here. I was in Nebraska with my sister. And I invoked the state law not to go into closed session, to reveal everything that was said about me and my person. I didn't stand behind that tonight, and I want to tell you why. Because I know how detrimental this could be to this township if everything was exposed. And I wasn't questioned, I was interrogated. It was one of the most horrific things I've ever experienced in my life. So you know what? If you want to come for me and recall me, please enjoy yourselves. Have at it. Please have at it. All the things I am accused of, I don't know where you people are coming up with these things, but I still run my business full time. I do business for 4 other businesses, yet books for it. I don't have time for the things you're accusing me of. So recall me, have at it. Good luck.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. We have a moratorium committee meeting November 20th on Thursday at 6 p.m. And it'll be a joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the Moratorium Committee. And we compiled a information packet of all the presentations that we've gone through and some of the revisions. So that's going to be a draft publishment that then the commission members will have an insight on what further that we should add. That way we can demonstrate to the community what we did. At the end of that meeting, I believe there's public comment. So if there's something that you would like to see in that packet that you found that we did research that we may have missed, or if you think that there's something that we missed that we need to research, we'd be glad to hear your input. And I thank everybody for coming this evening. This meeting is adjourned.